Chapter 861. Why do you think Mengji is helping us? Anlin was a little perplexed. The Great Empress was also there. We have a blood feud with the Snow Maidens, so she shouldn't be helping us. Su Xiaolan's brows furrowed as she spoke. If only there was a way to get the Bone Divine tool out of the Black Dragon's mouth, Anlin heaved a resigned sigh. It still didn't work. What he didn't know was just how traumatized Mengji was after witnessing the Black Dragon. Her hatred had long since been overwhelmed by reverence. Otherwise, Mengji wouldn't have tried her best to help Anlin and the others escape in front of the Great Empress. Anlin didn't really care about this in the past, but things were different now. The Black Dragon was insanely powerful. Not only would it swallow the divine tool, but it would also suck his body dry. He had nothing else to say. Xiao Zhe's speculation didn't seem to be wrong. Wait. Anlin suddenly turned toward the Mission Technique tab. There was a change in the mission progress. Anlin and the others sat on Xiao Zhe's back as they quickly flew toward the south. With their speed, there's no way they can travel 30,000 kilometers in such a short time. They're dead for sure. Anlin's eyes lit up. That's a good idea. If we go east and enter the Holy Glacial Lands, we'll be able to teleport back to the Kingdom of the Nine States once we get out of the opposite shore realm. He suddenly recalled that the Black Dragon had emerged from his consciousness. Did that mean that he had obtained the divine tool after the Black Dragon swallowed it? Did that mean that he had completed another mission to progress to the Return to Void stage? Ha ha! Don't worry, I'll make sure they don't make it back if they try to break through from here. Hiss hiss hiss. Countless snake-like hisses converged to form a unified wave. Anlin couldn't help but draw a sharp intake of breath. How the F***ck could this mission be turned back? Also, what the hell was with Mengji not hating him anymore? Please continue to hate him. This was the first time Anlin had seen a mission progress that could be reversed. He felt like he was getting further and further away from his dreams. Boom boom boom. Hydra, be careful on your side. They're most likely entering the Kingdom of the Nine States from the south. Also, the 4 rings that Yang Yuan had brought back were definitely not ordinary. What did they have to do with the holy beast vermilion bird? Anlin was confused. Anlin was still lost in his reverie. Meanwhile, a storm was brewing somewhere in the opposite shore realm. Something that belonged to the Black Dragon, not something that belonged to him. He was not used to this feeling. If he wanted to make a mighty figure above the Return to Void stage to test him, it had to be a Return to Void stage mighty figure. Otherwise, there was no way that a mighty figure like the Ghost Tribe mighty figure, who had been driven insane by him, wouldn't be listed in the mission description. Your place. He took a glance and discovered that Mengji's name was no longer on the list. Intermediate rank God of War Cannon Technique. God of War Heaven Blasting Cannon. Mission progress. Make 10 mighty figures of the Return to Void stage or above like you. However, make 10 mighty figures of the Return to Void stage or above hate you. Anlin could not wait to turn his consciousness to the system interface. He didn't even get a chance to finish his sentence when a terrifying energy explosion suddenly erupted from within the encirclement. The Crimson Sun, Immortal Spirit, and the Hydra's expressions both shifted. The Emperor estimates that we'll be able to enter the encirclement in 5 minutes. Hiss hiss. Crimson Sun, Immortal Spirit, Wild Saber Immortal, what's going on? Are they here? Where are they? Hydra's face was filled with shock. Everyone hit it off and silently changed their direction. The vermilion bird was a holy beast above mythological beasts. Who would be able to imprison the vermilion bird in a place like that? Within a certain set of consciousness, 3 immortal beasts with terrifying auras were communicating with one another. Terrifying energy clashes caused the entire encirclement to tremor violently. Sigh, how infuriating! He had to find a way to increase his popularity in the eyes of these mighty figures. Boom boom boom. F***ck. The Wild Saber Immortal's voice sounded. Progress to return to void stage. Receive divine tool, 0/1. Speaking of which, what was the reason why Mengji didn't hate him? And Lin was completely dumbstruck. Why was there one less F***King 1? Xiaoze was immediately displeased. What's so strange about that? Mengji was scared after seeing Master's projection, so she wanted to get us out of here as soon as possible. The demonic blood Kirin had chosen to flee toward the holy glacial lands. My side is the safest. Only an idiot would try to break through from my side after what happened in the holy glacial lands. At this moment, a calm and collected voice sounded. Xiaoze nodded in agreement. Yes, Master, you're right. It makes sense that Mengji is scared of the power within your ring. 5 minutes? That's enough time for us to shorten the encirclement to 20,000 kilometers. Everything should be over once the Emperor arrives. I have to find an opportunity to ask Yang Yuan. And Lin murmured. The huge blue bat hung up its voice transmission talisman before sweeping up gale force winds with its massive wings. Demonic blood Kirin, I finally know where you are. Such a large area of isolation won't last for long, and the defensive line won't be very strong either, so we still have a good chance of breaking through. Dongfang Zhuangshi offered words of consolation. Are you still unable to contact the people in the Kingdom of the Nine States? Dongfang Zhuangshi asked. And Lin shook his head. My voice transmission talisman seems to be located at the border of the opposite shore realm. It's been cut off by some kind of power, so I can't contact them. Su Xiaolan suddenly suggested. Our location has already been confirmed. If we go south, we'll be the closest to the Kingdom of the Nine States. However, I feel like the Divine Bat Emperor's defenses will also be more concentrated there. How about we go east? Speaking of which, just what was the background of the black dragon in the ring? Just its projection of its consciousness was already so terrifying, so its true body must be extremely powerful. The encirclement has been established, and it's currently closing in. He thought back to the Vermilion Bird trial grounds, where the Vermilion Bird was imprisoned, and he felt like there were even more mysteries to unravel. Its divine intent was connected to the 3 immortal beasts at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage through some kind of communication network. We've discovered the demonic blood Kirin's whereabouts. Shrink the encirclement immediately. And Lin's chest constricted upon hearing this. How many times do I have to tell you? That's the power within my ring. According to the brainwaves, divine sense fluctuations, and the system's calculations, the current mission progress was 5/10. Lin Junjun, Yan Hua, Emperor Ziwei, Lu Mingxian, Zhu Shan. In the southeastern region of the opposite shore realm, Xiaoze was quickly flying toward the Kingdom of the Nine States using cloud treading. They knew that the Divine Bat Emperor had most likely discovered their whereabouts, so they couldn't delay any longer. They had to enter the Kingdom of the Nine States as soon as possible. Chapter 862. In the easternmost part of the Permitha continent, the land here had already been covered by the wind and snow, forming a vast expanse of white. If he continued eastward, he would arrive at the territory of the Snow Maidens, the Holy Glacial Lands. The Holy Glacial Lands used to be covered in ice and snow, but now that place had become even colder. It was as if something was brewing, or as if it was eroding something. That place was so cold that even the Snow Maidens couldn't live there. The Snow Maidens' Holy Flame mission and the Realm Core mission had all failed. They were at the end of their rope, and they finally launched a war against the opposite shore realm. Not long after that earth-shattering battle ended, another terrifying battle broke out. Boom, 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 heaven and earth shook. The crimson light was like a dragon, blasting away a white figure. Rumble! The white figure collided with a blue water barrier. The water barrier was reinforced by bloody chains that were engraved with divine runes. Despite the fierce impact, it did not budge at all. Instead, it continued to shrink inwards. Ha ha! Give up, demonic blood Kirin. Without the power of the Tao integration stage, You won't be able to break this infernal realm seal. The white figure was a white ape wielding a pair of sabers, and his name was the Wild Saber Immortal. Even though it was being suppressed by Dongfang Zhuangshi, it was still cackling with arrogance. The infernal realm seal was rapidly contracting around them, and the other two immortal beasts were about to arrive. 5 minutes later, the divine Bat Emperor would also arrive. Time was of the essence. It was as if a sword of death was about to descend from the sky. There wasn't much time left for Enlin and the others. Dongfang Zhuangshi's hands transformed into Kirin claws, which were able to tear through space with a single slash. A sea of blood surged into the heavens behind him as he made his way toward the Wild Saber Immortal like a fiend celestial that had emerged from hell. I can't break this seal? If I kill you, one of the 3 formation cores, won't the seal naturally be broken? Dongfang Zhuangshi spoke in an indifferent voice. The Wild Saber Immortal was not enraged by this. Instead, it chortled with glee. This is the aura a mythological beast should have. Let's kill to our heart's content. Kill me if you can. It brandished its 2 blades at high speed, each blade carrying the power to split mountains and seas. Dongfang Zhuangshi's claws were like indestructible divine weapons as he crushed the Wild Saber Immortal's saber projection with his bare hands. Bang! His body tore through space and instantly appeared before the Wild Saber Immortal before unleashing a palm strike. So fast, the Wild Saber Immortal raised his twin sabers before him, and an earth-shattering collision ensued. It was sent flying again by the terrifying force. Its body hit the boundary of the Purgatory Realm lock again, and it spat out a mouthful of blood. In the distance, Enlin stood on Xiao's head. Can you break this array? Su Xiaolan looked at Enlin. She knew that Enlin had a very powerful eye technique that could see through the flaws of arrays. Enlin was indeed using his divine inspection technique, but this spell formation was simply far too massive. It encompassed a radius of over 5,000 kilometers, and in all honesty, it had already exceeded the range of his divine inspection technique. To put it simply, it was his eyesight that limited his ability to cast spells. This won't do. You can only look at a part of the array and not the whole thing. It's very difficult to find a flaw, Enlin said with a headache. Master, let's work together to kill that ape. Xiao's battle intent surged. Enlin pursed his lips. Think about it. How long did it take us to kill the dark sorcery ghost? And that was even with Mengji at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage present. No mighty figure at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage will die so easily. The other 2 immortal beasts are about to arrive, and the Divine Bat Emperor is right behind them. We can't hold them off for long. An anxious expression also appeared on Enlin's face. What could he do? What could he do? Enlin, isn't your consciousness supposed to be very powerful? Can you use your consciousness in conjunction with that eye technique of yours? Su Xiaolan asked in an urgent voice. Enlin heaved a forlorn sigh. The divine inspection technique can be used in conjunction with one's consciousness, but the range of one's divine sense is only 500 kilometers at most, and it's extremely taxing on one's consciousness. Wait. A thought seemed to have occurred to Enlin, and his storage ring flashed as an immortal pill appeared in his hand. Su Xiaolan could tell what Enlin was trying to do, and she asked with a concerned expression, "Will it work?" "There's no other way. We have to give it our all in order to escape." A determined expression appeared on Enlin's face. The pill in his hand was none other than the 6th grade immortal pill he had obtained from the Pill Pagoda, the Heavenly Soul Pill. The Heavenly Soul Pill could elevate one's consciousness to the very peak for a short time, and it could even exceed the limits of one's consciousness. Enlin swallowed the Heavenly Soul Pill without any hesitation. The power of the pill was activated the instant it entered his body. Boom! Enlin felt like the entire world had changed. Every blade of grass and every tree had become extremely clear to him. The atmosphere in the sky, the flow of vital energy, the activity of microscopic organisms. Nothing could escape his detection. However, he didn't use his consciousness here. Instead, he expanded the range of his divine sense to the maximum. He unleashed his divine sense to the fullest. His divine sense instantly encompassed a radius of 500 kilometers, and it was still continuing to expand. 1,500 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers, and Lin had a splitting headache, and his consciousness felt like it was being torn apart piece by piece. Indescribable pain assaulted his entire body, causing him to tremble uncontrollably. Ah! He couldn't hold back the pain any longer, and he screamed in agony. Not enough, this range was still not enough. Continue to expand the range. All of a sudden, a warm and fragrant body threw itself into his arms. Su Xiaolan hugged Lin tightly. Lin, hang in there, you can do it. She didn't try to persuade Lin to give up. Instead, she hugged Lin tightly. Su Xiaolan only hoped that Lin would understand that there was still someone standing by his side. Lin gritted his teeth, and his eyes were bloodshot. His body trembled uncontrollably from the excruciating pain. 1,500 kilometers, 2,000 kilometers. The heavenly soul pill could only completely activate the power of the consumer's consciousness. However, how much power it could unleash and how much it could exceed its limit depended on the consumer. Lin had expanded it 5 times its original size, which was definitely something that no one had ever done before. Lin was putting his life on the line. 2,500 kilometers. In that instant, his eyes turned snowy white, and he activated his divine inspection technique. The other 2 immortal beasts were closing in on him, shrinking the range of the spell formation. Lin was betting that they were already within 2,500 kilometers of the spell formation. Boom! An extremely complex and profound spell formation appeared in his divine sense. There are a total of 38 openings that can be targeted. The closest one is in the air 35 kilometers away in this direction. Lin extended a finger and pointed toward a certain spot in the air. Boom! There was no need for Lin to say anything. Black lightning erupted from Xiao Zhe's dragon horn, which transformed into a bolt of terrifying lightning that tore through the air toward the direction Lin was pointing toward. Lin immediately unleashed his lightning amplification technique to elevate Xiao Zhe's lightning to the return to void final stage before adjusting the angle of the lightning with his lightning manipulation technique. Even the slightest deviation in the angle of the lightning could result in a massive misalignment in a distance of 35 kilometers. Black lightning exploded somewhere in the air, and terrifying lightning swept through heaven and earth. Crack! The Purgatory Realm Lock's halo suddenly trembled violently. Even the crimson chain's color dimmed. How could this be? The wild saber immortal's expression shifted drastically with shock and incredulity. How could anyone break this spell formation? It couldn't help but turn toward the man on the dragon's back with a sense of absurdity. In the next instant, an earth-shattering streak of crimson light crashed into the blue barrier, upon which a series of cracks appeared. In the end, the chains were broken, and the barrier was shattered into pieces. Go! Dongfang Zhuangshi roared. Lin's vision darkened and he was about to faint. Su Xiaolan picked Lin up with one hand on his back and the other over his feet. Then, she landed lightly on Xiao Zhe's back. Go! Xiao Zhe let loose a carefree dragon roar, and his body instantly broke through the sound barrier as he charged through the opening in the infernal realm's seal at an extremely terrifying speed, thereby escaping the spell formation created by the 3 immortal beasts. Dongfang Zhuangshi and the wild saber immortal retreated as they fought, and they finally escaped from the range of the infernal realm's seal. Ha ha! Are you surprised? You didn't think we would have a secret weapon here, did you? Goodbye, foolish ape-man. Dongfang Zhuangshi chortled with glee as he fled into the distance. Don't run. The wild saber immortal gave chase with an enraged expression. Chapter 863. Before the Purgatory Realm Lock was broken. The Hydra and the Crimson Sun, Immortal Spirit, were hurrying toward the Wild Saber Immortal. The Wild Saber Immortal's anguished cries continued to ring out from the network. Ah, PFFF. Demonic blood, Kieran, I'm going to cut you down. No. Puff. Apart from the blood-curdling screams, there was also the sound of him vomiting blood as he was violently beaten. Ha ha ha, Wild Saber Immortal, it looks like you've been bullied quite badly. Hydra couldn't help but laugh out loud. Then, Hydra's laughter was transmitted into the communication network. Hydra, if you were to face the enemy, your Hydra would be reduced to a headless snake in less than 3 minutes. The Wild Saber Immortal roared with rage. What a joke. Wait for this grandpa to arrive. I'll let you know what true strength is. Hydra said, unconvinced. The Crimson Sun, Immortal Spirit's voice, sounded with a smile on its face. Wild Saber Immortal, you can be bullied by the demonic blood Kieran for now. We'll help you bully him when we get there. Wild Saber Immortal. Even in the midst of battle, the 3 immortal beasts at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage were still chatting idly. It was quite clear that in their eyes, this demonic blood Kieran and his entourage posed no threat at all and were already doomed to die. What they needed to do was to catch a turtle in a jar and simply reel in the net. Very good, there are still 2,500 kilometers left, and the Divine Bat Emperor is not far away from us, the Crimson Sun, Immortal Spirit said with a smile. I hope the Emperor comes a little later. At least let us fight to our heart's content first. It's so exciting to fight against a mythological beast. If I can oppress it, just thinking about it makes me excited, Hydra said greedily. At this time, the Purgatory Realm Lock suddenly exploded. The 3 immortal beasts were stunned. What followed next was a devastating crack. Holy shit! What's going on? Hydra roared. Wild Saber Immortal, reply. What happened to our spell formation? The Crimson Sun, Immortal Spirit asked anxiously. How is this possible? How could anyone possibly break this grand formation? The Wild Saber Immortal's voice was no less astonished than the other 2 immortal beasts. Rumble. There was another explosion. The 3 immortal beasts sensed that a certain part of the formation had shattered, and a gap had appeared. The Hydra and the Crimson Sun, Immortal Spirit, were dumbfounded. How was this possible? How could such a perfect formation be broken? Moreover, they could sense that the formation was not broken by brute force, but by a precise attack aimed at the flaws of the formation, causing the formation to be on the verge of collapse, and only then did it break with the help of external forces. This is impossible. How could anyone see through the flaws of this formation? The Crimson Sun, Immortal Spirit roared. The scene in front of it was even more unacceptable than breaking it with brute force. Wild Saber Immortal, answer me. What's going on? The Hydra was truly in a panic. The spell formation has been broken. A soul formation stage human male discovered its flaws, and he directed the Black Dragon to attack it, thereby causing the spell formation to fall apart. The Wild Saber Immortal murmured in disbelief. The Scarlet Sun, Immortal Spirit, had a fiery temper, and it immediately roared, F***CKU. Wild Saber Immortal, have you been beaten senseless? A soul formation cultivator saw through our array? Do you think we're idiots? I'm not lying to you. The Wild Saber Immortal suddenly yelled in a panicked voice. Don't run. They suddenly lost contact with the Wild Saber Immortal. It was quite clear that the Wild Saber Immortal had left the Infernal Realm Lock. It was also quite clear that the demonic blood Kieran had escaped from the Infernal Realm Lock. The 2 immortal beasts in the information network fell into complete silence. Their jovial conversation made their current silence appear even more awkward. They had envisioned a fierce battle with the demonic blood Kieran, and they had envisioned the Divine Bat Emperor arriving before them, thereby preventing them from participating in the battle. However, they didn't think that the demonic blood Kieran would be able to break through the Infernal Realm Lock. It's fake, right? It really was broken? The Hydra was still unable to accept this. And it was seen through by a soul formation stage cultivator? The Scarlet Sun immortal spirit chuckled, but its heart was filled with grief. Wasn't this AF *King joke? Boom. A terrifying aura suddenly descended. The two immortal beasts' hearts constricted at the same time. The divine Bat Emperor had arrived within the range of the infernal realm lock. Where is the demonic blood Kirin? The divine Bat Emperor's divine sense was transmitted to the Hydra and the Scarlet Sun immortal spirit at the same time. The Hydra, the Crimson Sun immortal spirit, the Hydra and the Scarlet Sun immortal spirit both fell silent. They roared with rage in their hearts. Brother, the divine Bat Emperor is asking you a question, so answer me. I'm asking you a question. Answer me. The divine Bat Emperor was extremely impatient. It then seemed to have discovered something. This spell formation. The Hydra finally spoke first. Emperor, our spell formation has been broken by a mysterious powerful being. The information network instantly fell silent, and the two immortal beasts' hearts trembled with fear. The spell formation has been broken. Which mysterious powerful being? The divine Bat Emperor's voice was terrifyingly cold. The Wild Saber Immortal said that a soul formation stage male cultivator discovered a flaw in the spell formation. The Scarlet Sun immortal spirit didn't dare to act up and spoke in a careful voice. Another peculiar silence ensued. Boom. A suffocating aura suddenly erupted. Useless trash. You're all *King useless trash. You even dare to use the excuse of a soul formation stage male cultivator to break the spell formation. Do you want to *King die? I'll kill you, ah! The divine Bat Emperor exploded with rage, and its terrifying aura made the infernal realm seal, which was already on the brink of collapse, crack open and tremor violently. The Scarlet Sun immortal spirit and the Hydra trembled uncontrollably. What they said was all true. The Wild Saber Immortal had told them everything. Why did they have to bear the Emperor's wrath? Useless trash. The divine Bat Emperor was clearly extremely enraged. After all, the Kirin blood jade was so close to being in its possession, only for it to escape just like that. Anyone would be enraged. It abruptly flapped its wings, and its body transformed into a streak of blue light as it flew toward the spell formation at an extremely terrifying speed. At the border between the holy glacial lands and the opposite shore realm, 3 streaks of light flew through the sky one after another. The one at the forefront was Xiao Zhe. The one at the center was Dongfang Zhuangshi, who was unleashing spell techniques to keep the Wild Saber Immortal at bay. As soon as everyone entered the snowy region, the laws of heaven and earth finally disappeared. Ha ha! Goodbye, stupid ape! Dongfang Zhuangshi unleashed a Kirin Great Seal to trap the Wild Saber Immortal for a moment. Come, Mr. and Lin, let's go to the Kingdom of the 9 States. Dongfang Zhuangshi was clearly in a good mood after escaping death, and he began to tear open a spatial passageway. However, he tore open a spatial passageway with his claws, only to find that he was unable to do so. How could this be? We've clearly already left the opposite shore realm. Why can't we tear open a spatial passageway? Dongfang Zhuangshi was dumbstruck. Xiao Zhe also tried to tear open a spatial passageway, but his claws were about to snap, but he was still unable to tear open a spatial passageway. Dongfang Zhuangshi, Xiao Zhe, and Lin, frosty winds howled as snow fell from the sky. In the extreme north, there seemed to be a blue light engulfing heaven and earth. Ha ha! I'm talking about you two stupid C*NTS. The Wild Saber Immortal tore open the blood cage with his sabers before pouncing toward Dongfang Zhuangshi with a smug expression on his face. Ever since the holy glacial lands exploded, heaven and earth have undergone a drastic change, and spatial travel is no longer possible. Don't you know that? Dongfang Zhuangshi and Xiao Zhe immediately fled toward the south without any hesitation. The wild saber immortal's aura surged as he carried his massive sabers and chased after them. Just like that, they once again began their pursuit and escape. Chapter 864. Unlin and the others finally began to panic. After escaping the opposite shore realm with great difficulty, he arrived at the holy glacial lands. He was just about to confidently bid farewell to his opponent, but he didn't expect that even the holy glacial lands, which had undergone a massive transformation, couldn't allow him to teleport. Did it have to be so exciting? They had lost their trump card. What the F***ck were they supposed to do? The wild saber immortal behind them wasn't much of a threat. But what about the divine bat emperor? They had initially been able to hide in a spatial passageway to avoid detection. But how were they going to outrun the Dao integration stage divine bat emperor just by flying? Hurry! Little Xiao, put more power into it. Fly as fast as you can. Unlin panted heavily as he spoke with difficulty. Master, I'm already flying as fast as I can. Xiao Zhe gritted his teeth and had already unleashed an escape mystic technique. His speed was comparable to that of a return-to-void final stage mighty figure. Su Xiaolan shot a glance at Unlin. Can you shut up and rest? You don't have to worry about this. Unlin chuckled. Xiaolan, why don't you keep hugging me? Su Xiaolan's expression darkened. Do you like being carried around like a princess that much? No, I like being carried around like a princess by you. Unlin replied with a solemn expression. Su Xiaolan, can you stop flirting at a time like this? The groundhog couldn't take it anymore. Moo? They're flirting? Ao Nyo stared at Unlin with a dumbstruck expression. The groundhog heaved a forlorn sigh. It was suddenly starting to miss the frog. As expected, people with high EQ were only able to hang out with those with high EQ. Unlin wasn't sitting around doing nothing. He was currently dialing his voice transmission talisman with all his might. Even though the signal wasn't very good in the holy glacial lands, it was still better than in the opposite shore realm. Finally it was connected. Unlin was extremely excited. Hey Unlin, why are you looking for me? The woman's voice was as soft as water, like the most beautiful sounds of nature. Yes, under such circumstances, that voice was the sound of salvation. Hey, piggy bank girl, you finally picked up. Sob sob sob, I'm so happy. Unlin was so excited that he almost burst into tears. Beep beep beep. The phone was hung up. Unlin, Su Xiaolan, all the beasts. Unlin suddenly realized where he had gone wrong. He had been too excited and had accidentally blurted out Lin Junjun's nickname. Oh my god, you're courting death. He hurriedly dialed the voice transmission talisman again. Fortunately, the other party did not throw a tantrum and reject the voice transmission talisman. The voice transmission talisman was instantly picked up again. Hello? What do you want? Lin Junjun's voice became cold. I'm sorry, Fairy Tianyu. I was wrong. Unlin apologized before immediately continuing. I'm requesting reinforcements from the Celestial Court. I'm being chased by enemies. Haha. My little war god of the Celestial Court, you're being chased by enemies? The other party seemed to be quite elated. You can't even deal with a little war god and are being chased by a return-to-void stage mighty figure? No, it's the Dao integration stage divine bat emperor, Unlin replied with a solemn expression. The laughter from the other party's voice transmission talisman abruptly stopped. Lin Junjun, you're not lying to me? Lin Junjun was astonished. If I chat with you for a few more minutes, the little war god of the Celestial Court is going to be immortalized. Unlin chuckled coldly. Why do you always scare people wherever you go? Lin Junjun took a deep breath. I'll tell my father right away. Don't hang up the voice transmission talisman, my father will follow your aura to find you. Unlin was a little perplexed. Why did this sound so familiar? It seemed like the heavenly lord of Tao and virtue had also followed the voice transmission talisman when he came to reconstruct Xiaolan's Tao foundation. He felt like this was a very powerful skill. When could he become as outstanding as those mighty figures? Lin Junjun was not one to be careless when it came to matters like this, and she immediately rushed toward the celestial Thearcha's location of seclusion. The voice transmission talisman fell silent. Lin gripped tightly onto the voice transmission talisman and didn't dare to hang up the call. Behind him, Dongfang Zhuangshi was defending himself against the wild saber immortal's violent attack. Ha ha! You're all dead. The Divine Bat Emperor is on its way, and none of you will escape. The wild saber immortal's dual sabers were imbued with the power to slice through the sun and moon as they slashed down upon Dongfang Zhuangshi, thereby impeding his escape. The groundhog's eyes widened as it stared at the wild saber immortal's saber technique. What powerful saber techniques! Not only is the saber intent extremely pure, but it's also relentless, giving the enemy no chance to catch their breath. Lin suggested expressionlessly, "How about we kick the groundhog out and make it the bait?" Su Xiaolan nodded without any hesitation. "I agree. It was one thing to cheer for the spectators, but what the F***ck was that supposed to be cheering for the enemy? If they didn't get rid of this groundhog, were they supposed to keep it around for the new year?" The groundhog shuddered, and it immediately came to its senses. "Don't. I was wrong. What a **TTY saber technique. I must have been blind to have said that. Please spare me, Senior Lin." Splat! The groundhog fell to the ground and begged for its life. Lin rolled his eyes. So much for being the captain of the Divine Bat Emperor's Divine Guardian Squad. The Divine Bat Emperor would be enraged to death if it saw this. Thus, everyone traveled for several thousand kilometers in a tense atmosphere before finally seeing the border in the distance. This was the border between the Holy Glacial Lands and the Kingdom of the Nine States. "Come on, little Xiao. We'll be able to use spatial power once we get to the Kingdom of the Nine States." And Lin encouraged, "Don't worry, Master. I'll carry you to the Kingdom of the Nine States even if I die." Xiao Zhe unleashed a mystic technique over and over again, and he was on the brink of collapse. He was only persisting through sheer willpower. And Lin's expression darkened. "I'm telling you to come on. Why the F***ck are you saying your last words?" Rumble, an extremely terrifying aura suddenly erupted from the distance. And Lin was well aware of this. One really couldn't say things without thinking, ha ha. The Divine Bat Emperor is here. You're all dead. The wild saber immortal chortled with glee before pouncing toward Lin and the others before being slapped flying by a palm from Dongfang Zhuangshi. Lin looked behind him to discover a blue figure appearing in the distance. This was an indescribably gargantuan bat. Its crimson eyes seemed to be burning with flames of hell. That's right, it did have eyes. Each and every flap of its blue wings seemed to be able to send ripples through space, and its speed was several times faster than Xiao Zhe's. "It's over, it's going to catch up." A chill ran down Lin's spine. "Demonic blood, Kiran, I've finally found you. Don't even think about getting away." The voice was imbued with extremely dense blue sound waves, which pierced through space before striking everyone's bodies. In that instant, not only did they feel as if their flesh and blood had been sliced apart, but even their consciousness felt as if it had been torn apart by some kind of power. PFFF. Xiao Zhe was in the middle of unleashing a mystic technique, and his aura had been disrupted by the energy blasts, and he threw up a large mouthful of blood. And Lin's body was already quite feeble to begin with, and he threw up another mouthful of blood. Su Xiaolan, Aonyo, and the groundhog also sustained internal injuries from the sound waves. Just one sentence from the Divine Bat Emperor was enough to severely wound everyone. Chapter 865. The arrival of the Divine Bat Emperor was undoubtedly a nightmare for Lin and the others. No one could resist the might of a Tao integration stage mythological beast, not even Dongfang Zhuangshi. Demonic blood Kirin, let's see where you can run to now. The Divine Bat Emperor flew at an extremely fast speed, and it drew closer and closer. It spread its wings, and a square spatial barrier appeared in an area of several hundred kilometers, cutting off all avenues of escape for Enlin and the others. Yes, it wanted to cut off all possibilities. Even if it was killing a chicken, it had to go all out. Humph, aside from the demonic blood Kirin, all of you can die. The Divine Bat Emperor opened its mouth, and a blue sound wave erupted forth like ripples on water. The space in its wake twisted, and all things were reduced to dust. An attack imbued with the power of the divine Tao proliferated forth, and Enlin and the others were immobilized by an extremely mighty power. They were about to be killed by the power of the divine Tao just like that. A white figure appeared in front of them again. Dongfang Zhuangshi let loose an almighty roar as the projection of a crimson Kirin materialized before him, exuding a boundless ferocious might as layers of divine Tao blood barriers materialized in the air. Boom, boom, boom. The Divine Bat Emperor's soundwave attacks shattered one protective barrier after another with unstoppable force. In the end, even the crimson Kirin projection was twisted and torn apart. In the end, the sound waves fell upon Dongfang Zhuangshi's body. Puff! In that instant, his internal organs were all shattered, and he spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with his internal organs. Uncle Dongfang! Enlin and Su Xiaolan cried out involuntarily. Dongfang Zhuangshi had shielded them with his body, but he was also severely wounded. The Divine Bat Emperor narrowed its eyes. You want to die as well? Hand over the Qilin blood jade and I'll let you die a more painless death. Dongfang Zhuangshi faltered slightly upon hearing this before chortling with glee. Oh, Kirin blood jade? Ha ha! The Kirin blood jade is long gone. That's it. The Divine Bat Emperor took a deep breath and chuckled coldly. Heh, you want to lie to me? I want to see how long you can hold on for. I'll tear your body apart right now and see if the blood jade is inside. It extended its claws, and each of its fingertips had a divine ring that flickered with terrifying fluctuations. At the same time, a blue, liquid-like energy erupted from the Divine Bat Emperor's body, instantly filling the entire space. Enlin and the others actually felt an extremely comfortable feeling. Their souls felt refreshed, as though they were about to float. A peculiar smile suddenly appeared on the Divine Bat Emperor's face. So be it, I've changed my mind. I'll extract your souls and search your souls. Be careful. Dongfang Zhuangshi roared as blood energy erupted from his body, enshrouding Enlin and the others. Only now did Enlin and the others realize what that comfortable feeling meant. It meant that the devil was tempting them and was about to find a chance to extract their divine souls. An atmosphere of despair enveloped the entire space. Enlin found that he couldn't even think of a way to resist this power. They were like fish on the chopping block. All right, I'll be taking your divine souls. The Divine Bat Emperor's voice was like a sinister gust of wind blowing from the depths of hell. The divine ring on its fingertips instantly expanded, and a monstrous power erupted forth, shattering Dongfang Zhuangshi's blood energy barrier before sweeping directly toward Enlin and the others. At this critical juncture, a clear and ethereal voice imbued with peerless imperial might suddenly sounded. Filthy creature! Release them! A massive hole was blasted into the Divine Bat Emperor's cube dimension as soon as the sound of the voice reached it. What? The Divine Bat Emperor's expression shifted. At this moment, a boundless streak of white light imbued with the might of the heavens swept forth at an extremely fast speed, instantly tearing through the blue ripples and the power of the divine ring before crashing into the Divine Bat Emperor's body. Boom! Another earth-shattering sound rang out. Energy swept forth for tens of thousands of meters, and the shock waves from the collision knocked Dongfang Zhuangshi, Enlin, and the others flying. The Divine Bat Emperor let loose a wail of anguish, and its massive body caved in before flying back over 10,000 meters like a rubber ball. Thus, everyone could see the figure enshrouded in divine light in the sky. His imperial robe fluttered in the wind, and he stood tall and straight, maintaining his stance as he unleashed his palm. A prideful battle intent erupted from his body, and all things between heaven and earth had to kneel and kowtow to him, as if he were the emperor of the heavens. Lin almost shed tears at the sight of that familiar figure. Celestial Dharch, you're finally here. That's right, the Celestial Dharch that he had been yearning for all this time had finally made his appearance. Both Lin and Su Xiaolan felt as if their hearts had finally been lifted at the sight of that figure. What followed was a massive sense of security. Who would dare to touch them now that the Celestial Dharch had appeared? Roar, you're the Celestial Dharch? Blue blood flowed from the corners of the Divine Bat Emperor's lips. The man enshrouded in divine light had inflicted internal injuries upon it. That's right, that's me. The Celestial Dharch clasped his hands behind his back and puffed out his chest as he looked down at the Divine Bat Emperor with a disdainful expression. Gasp! Lin drew a sharp intake of breath. The Celestial Dharch was so intimidating. Why are you interfering in my business of capturing the demonic blood, Kirin? The Divine Bat Emperor flared up with rage. Heh! You tried to kill the students of the Celestial Court, so why can't I interfere? The Celestial Dharch chuckled lightly. The Divine Bat Emperor took a deep breath before turning toward the two soul formation stage cultivators. That man and woman are the students of the Celestial Court? All right, I can promise you that I'll release them. It could be said that it was making a huge concession with this decision. The Celestial Dharch was not to be trifled with. The Divine Bat Emperor was fine as long as the demonic blood Kirin didn't run away. The Kirin blood jade was still there. There was no reason that the demonic blood Kirin wouldn't carry such a precious item with him. Those two are indeed the students of the Celestial Court. However, he is also a student of the Celestial Court. The Celestial Dharch suddenly pointed at Dongfang Zhuangshi. He then pointed at Xiao Zhe and the other beasts. They are the disciples and beast pets of my student, so you can't take any of them with you. They're all mine. The Celestial Thearcha's voice reverberated through the air, and everyone instantly fell silent. Lin, Dongfang Zhuangshi, the spectating wild saber immortal. The Divine Bat Emperor's flesh crawled. Celestial Dharch, you're a thief. Don't go too far. It let loose an almighty roar, and the space within a radius of over 50 kilometers suddenly twisted as boundless power of the divine Tao swept toward the Celestial Dharch in a frenzy. A faint smile appeared on the Celestial Thearcha's face, and his body instantly disappeared. In the next instant, he had already bypassed the boundless attacks and appeared before the Divine Bat Emperor. His fist fell. Boom! Space was flattened, and heaven and earth twisted and warped. An anguished wail erupted into the heavens. The Divine Bat Emperor was knocked flying again, and it threw up another mouthful of blood. If you want to fight, then fight, but you're not taking any of the humans or beasts here with you. Boundless platinum divine light enshrouded the man in the imperial robe, and each and every step he took resonated with the great Tao of heaven and earth. The Divine Bat Emperor's rage soared to the heavens. Celestial Dharch, you're forcing the sinister spirit beast cesspool to wage war against the human race. The Celestial Thearcha's eyes narrowed slightly. What the hell is the sinister spirit beast cesspool? Setting aside a war against the human race, just you 4 mythological beasts are enough for my celestial court to raise your *TTY place to the ground several times over. The Divine Bat Emperor's body trembled with rage, but it had no response. Lin, Su Xiaolan, all of the beasts, and even Dongfang Zhuangshi were all looking up at the peerlessly domineering man in the sky with expressions of admiration and reverence on their faces. This kind of roguish and domineering figure was really too attractive. Chapter 866. The Divine Bat Emperor was extremely enraged. It was so close to getting its hands on a piece of juicy meat, only for it to be snatched away by a pervert just like that. Who could it complain to? At this moment, a return-to-void stage immortal beast with over 100 snake heads flew toward them from afar. It was standing atop a cloud of poisonous mist. At the same time, a fire immortal spirit that shone as brightly as the sun descended from another direction with crimson flames raining down from its body. Who dares to provoke the divine Bat Emperor? Die! The Hydra roared in unison. Burn, burn, burn! Burn all those who are disloyal and unjust. Divine Bat Emperor, I'm here to help you. The Crimson Sun immortal spirit also hurtled toward them. Come on, Motherf asterisk cur. F asterisk ck off. The Divine Bat Emperor roared with rage. The power of its voice transformed into extremely terrifying shockwaves that swept toward the Crimson Sun immortal spirit and the Hydra. Boom! The poisonous mist was dispersed, and the flames were knocked flying back. The two return-to-void stage mighty figures faltered as blood trickled down the corners of their mouths. They had sustained internal injuries from the Divine Bat Emperor's roar. The Divine Bat Emperor was already in a fit of rage, and these two pieces of trash were unable to trap the demonic Blood Kirin even after using the Infernal Realm lock. How could it calm down now? The wild saber immortal chuckled coldly as it looked at its two comrades. If you've done something wrong, then you should have kept your presence to a minimum. Why did you have to jump out and cause trouble? Look at how smart it was. Ever since the Divine Bat Emperor had appeared, it had been standing silently in the background. Even the Celestial Dharch couldn't be bothered to pay attention to it. This was the way to survive. The Crimson Sun immortal spirit and the Hydra both shuddered in fear upon seeing this. Holy Mother of God! Wasn't that man the Celestial Dharch of the Celestial Court? They were just trying to attack the Celestial Dharch just a while ago? That was F** King suicidal. Just thinking about it now gave them a sense of lingering fear. The Celestial Dharch was simply far too renowned. Even with the Divine Bat Emperor present, the two return-to-void stage immortal beasts were still trembling in fear. That powerful aura from before instantly shrunk, completely withering away. The Divine Bat Emperor glared at the Celestial Dharch. Celestial Dharch, you're preventing me from capturing the demonic Blood Kirin, which is equivalent to stealing my Kirin Blood Jade. I'll remember this. The Celestial Dharch faltered slightly upon hearing this before turning to Dongfang Zhuangshi with a curious expression. You're the demonic Blood Kirin? Dongfang Zhuangshi nodded with a speechless expression. Divine Bat Emperor. The Celestial Thearcha's eyes lit up with excitement. Divine Bat Emperor, I'm blind and don't know anything about the demonic Blood Kirin, but if you want to take these living beings, you'll have to step over my dead body first. Unlin, PFFF. The Divine Bat Emperor threw up a mouthful of blood. F***ck. So the Celestial Dharch didn't know that person was the demonic Blood Kirin? Blind your sister. Could he be any more shameless? The Divine Bat Emperor felt like it had been humiliated, and its body trembled with rage. How infuriating! But there was nothing it could do. After all, the Celestial Dharch was one of the most powerful beings among all of the Tao integration stage super mighty figures. All of the powerful beings present combined wouldn't be a match for him. Remember this isn't over. I, the Divine Bat Emperor, am going to make you regret what you've done today. The Divine Bat Emperor swept its gaze over everyone before finally flapping its wings and flying into the air. Throwing down some harsh words could, to a certain extent, save its face as a divine beast. The other three immortal beasts at the return-to-void pinnacle stage also hurried along upon seeing the Divine Bat Emperor's retreat, fearful that they would be captured by the Celestial Dharch if they were too slow. The Divine Bat Emperor's menacing army finally fled with dejected expressions due to the arrival of the Celestial Dharch. Unlin and the others were extremely excited as they looked on at the departing Divine Bat Emperor, and they immediately flew toward the Celestial Dharch. Thank you for your help, Celestial Dharch. You were so cool just then. Unlin was extremely excited. The celestial Dharch shot a disgruntled glance at Unlin. I really don't know what to say about you. You provoked a blood-tribe mighty figure at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage during one of the end-of-term examinations at the United University of Cultivation, and our Emperor Tian Huang had to step in as reinforcements. Your trip to the sinister spirit beast cesspool this time was even more ridiculous. You even attracted a Dao integration stage super mighty figure. If I hadn't stepped in as reinforcements, how would we have been able to keep the situation under control? The celestial Dharch massaged his brows as he spoke. I don't even dare to call you out on missions anymore. What if you provoke a goddess new one next time? Who would be your reinforcements then? Aonyo was astonished. So Senior Enlin is this powerful? In terms of causing trouble, the groundhog added. You don't know **T. Causing trouble is also a skill. Xiao Zhe stepped forward to defend his master's dignity. Unlin chuckled sheepishly. Sigh, I didn't want to. Isn't this just fate? The celestial Dharch was a little speechless as he stared at the man before him. Why did those words sound so familiar? He then turned toward another man. This man was a little more special. He was a middle-aged man with a pair of Kirin horns, crimson eyes, and a gentle and refined expression. Who would have thought demonic blood, Kirin? You're not dead, and you've become like this. The celestial Dharch clicked his tongue in wonder as he appraised the middle-aged man before him with an intrigued expression. A faint smile appeared on Dongfang Zhuangshi's face. Long time no see, celestial Dharch. I'm no longer the demonic blood Kirin, I'm just an ordinary human. The celestial Thearka's face convulsed slightly. Can you put away those blinding Kirin horns before you say that? Dongfang Zhuangshi stroked the horns on his head and shook his head with a solemn expression. I can't. She said that my horns are very beautiful, so this is the perfect me. By the way, I have a human name now. I'm Dongfang Zhuangshi. PFFF. The celestial Dharch snorted before immediately coming to a realization. Cough, cough, cough. It's a little cold in the holy glacial lands. I've caught a cold. That's a nice name, the celestial Dharch praised sincerely. Thank you. Dongfang Zhuangshi's expression eased slightly upon seeing that his name had been acknowledged. Unlin was astonished once again. He was in awe of the celestial Thearka's adaptability. By the way, how did you escape from Panga's seal? The celestial Dharch changed the subject. Dongfang Zhuangshi, that's a long story. The two of them began to converse again. Unlin and Su Xiaolan were extremely surprised to see the two of them chatting like old friends. Did these two know each other? Fate sure was mysterious. Everyone flew back to the Kingdom of the Nine States as they conversed. The celestial Dharch learned from Dongfang Zhuangshi that the Kirin blood jade had been swallowed by Unlin, and he was completely envious. He looked at Unlin with envy and jealousy in his eyes. Celestial Dharch, I have something to say, but I'm not sure if I should say it. Unlin looked at the celestial Dharch with an obedient expression. The celestial Dharch immediately adopted a benevolent smile upon hearing this. Mr. Unlin, you can tell me what you want to say. There's no need to hold back. All right. Unlin nodded with anticipation in his eyes. We've already completed the mission entrusted to us by the Celestial Court. When are you going to give me the 5 million spirit stones for collecting information and at least 10 million spirit stones for entering the vast land of blood? The celestial Thearka's flesh crawled upon hearing this. You've already reaped all the benefits, and you still dare to ask me for money? He forced a smile onto his face. No problem, I'll pay you when we get back to the Celestial Court. F***ck. He had made a promise, so he had to fulfill it no matter what. Chapter 867. The celestial Dharch was so tired. The sinister spirit beast cesspool uprising had been resolved, but it had also been resolved. The culprit was right here, so how could he not resolve it? However, the celestial court didn't get anything, but instead gave the 4-9 immortal sect a huge pile of spirit stones. How was he supposed to explain this? He was so aggrieved, the celestial emperor really wanted to slap himself in the face a few times. Why did he have to say such prodigal words for no reason? Soon, everyone began to discuss the battle between the Snow Maidens and the opposite shore realm. The celestial Dharch heaved a faint sigh. So be it. I shouldn't have told you about this. However, seeing as you've already encountered it, I'll tell you about it in detail. I'll tell you about the changes in this world. And Lin suddenly had a feeling that he didn't want to hear about this. He had a feeling that if he learned about something, he would be dragged into it. Sometimes, knowing too much really wasn't a good thing. We have to start with the Purple Star Civilization. The celestial Dharch began. Stop. Unlin cut him off with a wave of his hand. I'm not listening. The celestial Dharch choked upon hearing this. He was only halfway through his sentence, and the other party didn't want to hear it? This was the first time he had encountered something like this, and it made him feel very uncomfortable. Even many return to Void Stage celestial immortals don't know about this level of information. Are you sure you're not interested? Su Xiaolan also backed down upon hearing this. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Something like this could easily lead to karma. Some important matters were like a whirlpool. Once one learned about it, they could plunge deeper and deeper into danger. The celestial Dharch. Are you too that afraid of trouble? The celestial Dharch glared at the two of them before pointing at the snow-covered world behind them. Look at the holy glacial lands. The Snow Maidens are homeless and have nowhere to go. Aren't you worried that the kingdom of the 9 states will become the same? Unlin shook his head relentlessly. I'm not looking. The celestial Thearcha's lips twitched. How infuriating! The celestial Dharch was about to reveal an earth-shattering secret, but the other party was turning him down? All of a sudden, a spatial fluctuation erupted. A faint power of the divine Tao suddenly enshrouded Unlin and the others. Unlin was slightly taken aback. He didn't know what was going on. Then, he heard a certain voice actually penetrate through space and directly affect his body and divine soul. Haha, when I speak, you too have to listen even if you don't want to. Unlin and Su Xiaolan. Even Xiaoze was unable to resist that voice. It was extremely clear and resounding like thunder, and it seemed to be deeply imprinting itself into his mind. Unlin and Su Xiaolan glared at the Celestial Emperor. The Celestial Emperor wore a calm expression, but his heart was filled with a wonderful sense of satisfaction. Humph, little guy, you want to fight with me? We'll have to start from the Purple Star Civilization, the Celestial Dharch said in a slow voice. Unlin and Su Xiaolan covered their ears with their hands, but the sound still penetrated through the obstruction and reached the depths of their souls. They couldn't stop it at all. They were desperate. Do you know why the Purple Star Civilization was destroyed? The Celestial Dharch continued. Unlin rolled his eyes, and Su Xiaolan turned her head away. No one paid any attention to him. I want to know why the ancient Tai Chu realm was destroyed, Xiaoze grumbled. The Celestial Dharch. What a bunch of unqualified listeners. He forced himself to calm down before continuing. The Purple Star Civilization was once the pride of the human race. Their power was unrivaled across the entire Tai Chu continent. Do you know why they were suddenly destroyed? However, it was a pity that none of the listeners were interested in his question. Unlin even picked at his ear in an extremely uncooperative manner. The Celestial Dharch ignored him and continued. Not many living beings know the truth about the destruction of the Purple Star Civilization. However, the super mighty figures who do know the truth are extremely secretive about it. Then why do you insist on telling me this? Unlin was extremely enraged. You have the right to know. The Celestial Dharch looked at Unlin with a serious expression. What right? I'll change it, all right? Unlin wanted to cry, but no tears came out. The Celestial Dharch couldn't be bothered to respond to Unlin. He wouldn't be happy if he didn't say this out loud. In reality, the Purple Star civilization was destroyed by divine retribution. The celestial Dharch continued. Enlin, Su Xiaolan, and all of the beasts were dumbstruck upon hearing this. Divine retribution? Are you kidding me? Is there really something capable of destroying an entire civilization in this era? The celestial Dharch was quite pleased to see that everyone's attention had finally been drawn to his story. That's right, you heard me right. They were indeed punished by divine retribution. The Purple Star civilization was very powerful. They used their powerful technology to make all of their citizens attain the Tao body stage, thereby unleashing the latent potential of the human race to the fullest extent. Normal humans could live for over 1,000 years with ease. Their seas of vital energy can be artificially constructed, as can spirit-nurturing stage spirit roots, and even soul formation stage domains, return to void stage spatial powers, and the power of the divine Tao can be created through extremely advanced technological means. The Purple Star civilization was undoubtedly the most dazzling existence on the entire Tai Chu continent. However, they should never have challenged the dignity of the heavens. The celestial Thearcha's voice finally fell as he spoke. As their technology progressed, they tried to steal the power of Tao. All things in this world have their own Tao, but the Tao integration stage requires a cultivator to observe all things in this world. How could something like this be created through technology? They failed. They failed many times. Enlin recalled the Fiend Celestial of 6 Paths from Xin Yin's memories, as well as the demonic baby and the Holy Trinity Fiend Celestial he had encountered in the small Phoenix world. I don't know the exact details, but I do know that the Purple Star civilization gave up on creating artificial Tao integration stage super mighty figures after many failures. The celestial Dharch continued. It's good that they know when to back down. Enlin nodded. The celestial Dharch shot a glance at Enlin. After that, they planned to create the heavenly Tao in one fell swoop. Enlin, everyone, the Tao integration stage relies on one's intent realm and observation. It requires a living being to attain perfection one step at a time, and it can't be forcefully instilled or created. However, the heavenly Tao is different. The heavenly Tao is an entity that exists, yet also doesn't exist. It can even be said to represent all existences, and it can also be said to be a consciousness that transcends beyond the world. I don't know what the Purple Star civilization discovered, but they were convinced that the heavenly Tao could be obtained. They wanted to create the most perfect human race and use the human Tao to control the heavenly Tao, thereby allowing the heavenly Tao to bless the human race, thereby allowing the human race to prosper and ascend to a higher realm. The celestial Dharch spoke in a slow voice, and each and every word was imbued with astonishing information. What happened after that? Enlin asked. Is your body honest now? A faint smile appeared on the celestial Thearcha's face, as if he had just won some sort of victory. Enlin. After that, for some reason, the Purple Star civilization suddenly punctured a massive hole in the sky. In the end, the massive hole disappeared. All of the living beings of the Purple Star civilization were cursed, and so was the entire world. It didn't matter if you were an ordinary mortal or a powerful Tao integration stage super mighty figure. Everything was destroyed within 3 days of the hole appearing. Tell me, if this isn't divine retribution, then what is? The celestial Dharch spoke with a serious expression as he looked at Enlin and the others. Enlin fell silent upon hearing this. There was nothing wrong with this. The heavens had been stabbed, so they naturally had to retaliate. But why did it sound like the heavens were so humane? But what does this have to do with the snow maidens? Su Xiaolan was perplexed. The celestial Dharch heaved a forlorn sigh. That's because the divine retribution hasn't ended yet. The destruction of the Purple Star civilization is only the beginning. Chapter 868. Only the beginning? Enlin and Su Xiaolan were both shocked to hear this. If the destruction of the Purple Star civilization was only the beginning, then they really didn't dare to imagine what was going to happen next. They didn't dare to think about it, and the Celestial Larch continued to force words into their minds. The Purple Star race is a branch of the human race. Do you understand what I'm saying? The Celestial Larch spoke slowly. Lin's pupils contracted, and he drew a sharp intake of breath. The divine retribution will affect us? The Celestial Larch didn't directly answer Lin's question. Instead, he pointed to the sky. I've told you before, the hole in the sky has only disappeared, but that doesn't mean it has been repaired. The first time the divine retribution descended, the powerful Purple Star civilization was destroyed without any resistance. At that time, the most panicked were naturally the Kingdom of the Nine States and the Western Paradise. What if the divine retribution targeted not only the Purple Star race but the entire human race instead? Or perhaps the divine retribution targeted the entire world? This speculation is not without reason. The hole in the sky appeared and disappeared from time to time, and the Kingdom of the Nine States and the Western Paradise were struck by terrifying natural disasters over the past few days. Other powers also experienced natural disasters of varying degrees. We immediately invited Her Majesty Nuwa and the three heavenly venerates to use chaotic divine stones to plug up the hole in the sky, which is the flaw in the heavenly Tao. However, this method is only a delaying tactic. Plugging up a hole and fixing a flaw are two different things. The more the hole is plugged up, the more terrifying the wrath of the heavens will be. Hence, the next time the divine retribution descends, the human race will most likely be wiped out, or it could be a calamity that will affect the entire continent. Lin and Su Xiaolan were dumbstruck upon hearing this. So there was such a terrifying hidden threat in this world? F***ck. They really were going to save the world. Lin really wanted to yell, "Ya Lai die." So the explosion in the holy city of Snow Maidens has something to do with the divine retribution? Lin asked. The Celestial Larch nodded. Cracks have appeared on the chaotic divine stones, and the disaster brought about by the flaw in the heavenly Tao is slowly becoming apparent. The holy city of the Snow Maidens is the node of the power of frost in the world. When the node loses control and explodes, we speculate that this is a disaster brought about by the heavenly Tao's flaw. Su Xiaolan heaved a faint sigh. The Purple Star civilization is too powerful. Not only did they screw themselves to death, but they're also planning to screw the entire continent to death. Lin was displeased. Celestial Larch, I'm just an ordinary soul formation cultivator. I can't save the world. Letting me know about this kind of thing, other than making me unhappy, what else can it do? The Celestial Larch nodded calmly and said, It's enough that I made you unhappy. Lin. Haha, I was just joking. The Celestial Larch waved his hand and continued, Among us top-rate mighty figures, we've tried countless ways to remedy the heavenly Tao's imperfections. In these tens of thousands of years of hard work, many methods have been eliminated. There are only 3 schools of thought left. One of the schools was proposed by some idiot. They believe that as long as the human race is destroyed, the heavens will be appeased, and the hole in the heavenly Tao will heal itself. Of course, we have to fight them as soon as we see them. As for the other 2 schools, I feel like you should know about them, Lin. At this moment, the Celestial Larch turned to Lin with a hint of anticipation and curiosity in his eyes. One of the schools is the Heaven-Crushing sect. They believe in the Heaven-Crushing sect. They believe that if the heavenly Tao can be destroyed, then it can also be killed. They want to destroy the heavenly Tao, then rebuild it, and even replace the heavenly Tao with their own bodies. I think Chen Chen told you about this when he looked for you, right? Chen Chen and Lin's meeting in the dark marshlands naturally couldn't be hidden from the Celestial Larch. Lin nodded in acknowledgement. A smile appeared on the Celestial Thearcha's face. The Heaven-Crushing sect has acknowledged you, which means that you do indeed have some kind of connection with the heavenly Tao. You were able to join the heaven-crushing sect, so I'm sure you have the right to join the other school as well. Unlin faltered upon hearing this. What school? The celestial Dharch looked at Unlin with a serious expression. The heaven-mending sect. Do you want to know more about it? I don't want to know. Unlin's expression darkened. The heaven-crushing sect had come, and now the heaven-mending sect had come? Was there going to be a heavenly sun sect next? Was there going to be a small heavenly Tao in the future? The celestial Dharch ignored Unlin and continued. The heaven-mending sect's mission is even simpler. All we have to do is to completely repair the flaws in the heavenly Tao. Then why are you telling me this? Unlin was enraged. He really didn't want to hear any more of this. What was the point of learning so much about this? Was he really going to rely on a soul formation stage cultivator to save the world? Were all Tao integration stage super mighty figures and gods of creation supposed to be pushovers? The celestial Dharch was not enraged. Instead, he explained in an extremely patient manner, mending the heavens requires a living being that is compatible with the heavenly Tao. All we have to do is find out what the heavenly Tao is missing, then have the heaven-mending being cultivate that missing part before using their own body to mend the heavenly Tao. This is a very feasible plan. Unlin's flesh crawled upon hearing this. Why are you telling me all this? Young man, I feel like you have a lot of potential, the celestial Dharch replied in a straightforward manner. Unlin's lips twitched. Su Xiaolan was even more direct. F***ck off. Xiao Zhe whipped his tail toward the celestial Dharch. You're asking my master to die? You're courting death. Boom. The massive tail was unable to advance any further than 10 feet away from the celestial Dharch. Calm down, I'm not asking you to die. You don't have to sacrifice yourself to mend the heavenly Tao. There are also ways to avoid death. The celestial Dharch continued. There's no need to say anything more. I'm not interested. Unlin shook his head as he looked at the celestial Dharch with an extremely determined expression. The celestial Dharch moved his lips upon seeing Unlin's expression, but he gave up in the end. So be it. I've only revealed some of this to you because of the incident with the Snow Maidens. There are still other candidates for the Heaven Mending sect. If you want to join the Heaven Mending sect, then contact me. The celestial Dharch heaved a forlorn sigh. Unlin nodded, but in his heart, he was thinking, contact my A**s. Even if I were to join the heaven-crushing sect, I wouldn't join the heaven-mending sect. Thus, the matter came to a conclusion. The celestial Dharch didn't say anything else. He had already said everything that needed to be said. Never would Unlin have thought that their conversation would yield so much earth-shattering information. This world wasn't as peaceful as it seemed. Unlin couldn't help but feel a little disconsolate as he thought back to what he had just said. He had never thought of himself as an ordinary person. He was so exceptional. It was exactly because he was so exceptional that he was so distressed. The holy glacial lands had been struck by a devastating disaster. If this was due to a flaw in the heavenly Tao, then where was the next disaster going to strike? Chapter 869. Unlin and the others flew out of the holy glacial lands and into the kingdom of the Nine State. Unlin's system suddenly flashed again. He opened it to find that the mission progress for the God of War Heaven Blasting Cannon had been updated. The 10 Return to Void stage mighty figures had been reduced to 6 again, and the Wild Saber Immortal had been added to the list. Tisk, that's strange. Why does this B** starred only hate me now? Shouldn't it have hated me when I broke the spell formation? Unlin was a little perplexed. Unbeknownst to him, the Wild Saber Immortal was being pummeled relentlessly by the Divine Bat Emperor in the distance. The Divine Bat Emperor didn't believe a single word of the Wild Saber Immortal's explanation as to how the spell formation had been broken. The Kirin Blood Jade was so close to being his, but it had escaped right under his nose. How could the Divine Bat Emperor just accept this? He had nowhere to vent his rage, so he could only pummel the Wild Saber Immortal. The Wild Saber Immortal's hatred toward Enlin hadn't reached a certain level yet, but after a series of vicious beatings, it finally exploded. It could be said that it hated the man who broke its formation to the core. On a massive floating continent, all types of immortal buildings were situated here, and a massive rift had appeared within an immortal abode enshrouded in white divine light. A graceful man in an imperial robe with divine might exuding from his features made his way out of the rift with several humans and beasts trailing behind him. "This is my treasure pavilion, please wait here." The man who had spoken was none other than the master of the celestial court, the celestial Dharch. Enlin and the others waited obediently off to the side. A celestial maiden in a plain Taoist robe made her way over from nearby. "Enlin, Xiaoza, Xiaolan, I'm so glad you're all right." The celestial maiden made her way over with an elated smile on her face. "It's all thanks to your timely notification. Also, your father is so handsome." Enlin was not stingy with his praise this time. "Indeed, the celestial Dharch is the most domineering I've ever seen." Su Xiaolan nodded in agreement. The celestial maiden was none other than the celestial Thearcha's daughter, Lin Junjun. The smile on her face widened upon hearing others praise her father. "Of course. My father is the best." Lin Junjun turned to the middle-aged man beside her with a curious expression. "Are you the demonic blood Kirin?" The middle-aged man shook his head with a solemn expression. "I'm no longer the demonic blood Kirin. I'm a cultured man with a name. My name is Dongfang Zhuangshi. PFFF. Lin Junjun couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of saliva before immediately coming to a realization. Cough cough cough. "Oh my, the celestial court is a little cold. I must have caught a cold." "What a nice name." Lin Junjun praised sincerely. "Thank you." The uncle smiled and nodded. Enlin and Su Xiaolan felt as if 10,000 beasts were stampeding madly in their hearts. He exclaimed in his heart, as expected of father and daughter, their reactions were exactly the same. "Can't you be more shameless and be more honest? Don't speak against your conscience." Soon, the celestial Dharch emerged from the treasure pavilion and tossed a storage ring to Enlin. 15 million spirit stones are all in there. You can count them." Enlin didn't count the storage ring. Instead, he blinked in confusion. 10 million spirit stones as a minimum, no upper limit. Did that mission really only give 10 million? The celestial Dharch cursed internally, but a smile appeared on his face. "That's right. Information is only worth that much. After all, there's not much useful information. Don't you King know who got the most out of this mission? If it weren't for the fact that Enlin and the others had risked their lives and endured many hardships, he wouldn't even want to give them the 10 million spirit stones." Enlin handed the storage ring to Xiaoza. "I'm going back to the university soon. Take these spirit stones back to the 4-9 Immortal Sect." These were the rewards they had received for completing missions in the name of the 4-9 Immortal Sect, so they naturally had to be included in the 4-9 Immortal Sect's funds. Xiaoza accepted the storage ring, and he was extremely motivated. He had already made up his mind to make the sect look good. That way, he would be even more proud when Fanny came to visit him. Under certain circumstances, love really could be the driving force behind a man's effort. And Lin was also very happy to see this. After all, he was the one who had played the matchmaker for these two, so he felt a great sense of accomplishment. And Lin bade farewell to the celestial Dharch and Lin Junjun before returning to the university. Xiaoza and Aonyo went to the 4-9 Immortal Sect to build a beautiful new sect. Dongfang Zhuangshi couldn't leave Enlin, so he took the groundhog and gluttony with him to the United University of Cultivation. With his powerful consciousness, it wouldn't be a problem for him to leave Enlin for a while. However, he still had to plan his mythological beast body. On a bright and sunny afternoon, within the fourth-year dormitory area of Xiuxian United University, Xiao Hong was standing on the windowsill of the small attic. She was gorgeously dressed as she sang a beautiful song. The sunlight shone down upon her body, transforming it into pure energy, and her cultivation base was also slowly progressing. She was the second person in the Beast Pet team to reach the soul formation stage after Xiao Chou. Dabai worked hard to progress to the half-step soul formation stage, but he was still at the bottom of the Beast Pet team. His fourth brother hadn't even been born yet, so he couldn't compare. His fifth sister was already at the Return to Void stage. His sixth brother was about to progress to the legendary Return to Void stage, and his seventh brother or seventh sister in the Phoenix Egg was already more powerful than him. Even before they were born, Dabai was in despair. He also lay on the windowsill and stared at Xiao Hong with his big, round eyes. Xiao Hong's cultivation base was progressing just by singing and basking in the sun. He was extremely envious of her. Dabai, don't you need to cultivate today? Specks of golden light erupted from Tina's wings as she flew around the snowy white dog with a dainty smile. No. I feel like no matter how hard I try, I won't be able to catch up to Xiao Hong. This is a huge blow to my confidence, woof. Dabai was a little dejected. I'm still at the bottom of the Beast Pet team. I heard that Big Brother N is coming back today, so I hope he can bring back one or two underlings with lower cultivation bases than me from the sinister spirit beast cesspool. Tina cocked her head to the side as her emerald eyes shimmered under the sunlight. She opened her mouth to say something, but she swallowed her words in the end. Stupid Dabai, wouldn't Lin take in underlings with lower cultivation bases than you? Not long after that, the sound of a door being opened sounded. I'm back! Lin yelled. Expressions of elation appeared on Tina and Dabai's faces as they rushed toward the door to greet their master. Welcome home, Giant Lin. Tina was elated. Big Brother N, did you reap anything from the sinister spirit beast cesspool? Woof. Dabai was extremely excited. I did. You're going to have a new member. Lin replied with a mysterious expression. Dabai's body shuddered as his mouth gaped open. My God! Happiness had come too suddenly. Was this what it meant to be a dream come true? Was he finally going to have another underling? Was he going to be the last in the Beast Pet team? Big Brother N, who is it? Dabai asked with a scorching light in his eyes. Lin waved a hand. Little Goo, come out. Immediately afterward, a translucent little white insect that was as beautiful as a work of art appeared before Dabai. Insect? A smile appeared on Dabai's face. You're Little Goo, right? I'm Dabai. You can call me Big Brother Bai from now on. Don't worry, I'll protect you no matter what happens. The little white insect nodded obediently before speaking in an extremely pleasant voice. Hello, Big Brother Bai. Dabai was extremely satisfied. By the way, what cultivation base are you at now, Little Goo? I'm a half-step soul formation stage spirit beast, so I'm only half a step away from becoming a soul beast. Woof. The little white insect replied in a crisp voice, You're the best, Big Brother Bai. I'm a return to void initial stage immortal beast. Boom. The jade bone immortal bug's voice crashed into Dabai's mind like a bolt of divine thunder. Dabai's body trembled with shock. Little Goo, what did you say? Your cultivation base. To be more precise, I'm at the pinnacle of the return to void initial stage. The jade bone immortal bug replied with a sheepish expression. Boom. Another critical strike. Dabai's body swayed unsteadily as a tragic smile appeared on its face. Immortal beast? It was flexing in front of an immortal beast? Plop. Dabai's body collapsed onto the ground, and there was a look of despair on his face. What's wrong, Big Brother Bai? The little white insect asked with concern. I'm such a useless dog, woof. A tragic smile appeared on Dabai's face as it closed its eyes. Tina, Lin. Chapter 870. Dabai, what's wrong? Lin asked with concern. Don't bother me, I'm worse than a worm, I'm just a dog at the bottom, woof. Dabai lay on the ground with a lifeless expression. And Lin finally understood why Dabai was like this. It turned out that his confidence had been crushed by the other members of the Beast Pet team. He squatted down beside Dabai and stroked his furry head as he spoke in a gentle voice. Dabai, your horizons are too narrow. You need to broaden your horizons and not just focus on our Beast Pet team. My horizons are too narrow? Dabai blinked his big black eyes with a thoughtful expression. That's right. And Lin spoke in a meaningful voice. What rank is Lu Dabao's beach sea turtle? I think it's 5th stage Dao body? Woof. Dabai nodded. Then beat it up. And Lin spoke with a solemn expression. He continued, let me ask you again, what rank is Tang Shiman's Earth Explosion Lion? I think it's 8th stage Dao body? Dabai was a little hesitant. I can't beat you, so I'll just go beat him up. And Lin spoke in a matter-of-fact manner. Will I really not be beaten up by Tang Shiman then? Woof. Dabai was scared. He's just a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator. How is he going to beat you? And Lin chuckled. Dabai suddenly came to a realization. Let me ask you again, Chang'e's rabbit. Forget about it. And Lin waved his hand. Expand your horizons beyond our Beast Pet team to the entire Xiaoxian United University. You'll find that aside from our Beast Pet team, which other Beast Pet team isn't a pushover. Once you expand your horizons, you'll find that you're invincible. Dabai's eyes widened as if he had understood something. It murmured with tears in its eyes, so that's how it is. So I've always been too short-sighted, Tina was shocked. It turned out that her horizons were too narrow, and she needed to broaden them. Was this what he meant? So, short-sightedness could be used like this. The Jade Bone Immortal Bug was also very astonished. This was the first time it had discovered that its master was such a smooth talker. Dabai was truly touched by Enlin's words, and he gave him an excited hug. Big brother En, you're the best. Listening to you is more rewarding than cultivating for 10 years, woof. And Lin smiled and rubbed the dog's head. He wasn't spouting nonsense. It was just like China's table tennis players. After entering the national team, they felt that they couldn't beat anyone and felt very desperate and inferior. Then broaden your horizons and look at the entire world. If he went to another country to play against them, he would be able to beat them in all sorts of ways and regain his confidence. Go, Dabai. Go find your glory, and Lin encouraged. All right, big brother En, I'm going now, woof. Dabai waved a paw and bade farewell to Enlin before walking out of the dorm room with its chest puffed out and its head held high. Dabai exited the dorm room and was greeted by the sight of a new house being constructed on a lawn several dozen meters away from the dorm room. There was a man and 2 beasts gesturing to the side. Hee, were they new neighbors? A sly smile appeared on Dabai's face. Big Brother Bai was the boss here. It was time for them to experience the horror of being dominated by Big Brother Bai. Dabai made his way over and cleared his throat. Ahem, you're new here? The man turned around and nodded politely. That's right, and you are? Dabai took a look at the male. Wow, this student looks a bit old. He looks like a middle-aged man. Could he be a backdoor student or something? Dabai patted his chest with his paw and continued. I'm Dabai. I'm the leader of this place. As the gang leader here, I'll take care of you in the future, but you have to address me respectfully as Brother Bai, understand? You have to greet me when you see me, and you have to be respectful, understand? Pft, ha ha. The groundhog chortled with glee. Where did this stupid dog come from? Even dogs are so stupid, so its owner must be a stupid C***nt as well, right? Ha ha. Dabai's eyes widened, and he slammed his paw into the ground, upon which the ground instantly cracked open. His half-step soul formation stage aura also exploded forth. Little mouse, I'll give you one chance to reorganize your words. Dabai was truly enraged. A mere groundhog dared to jump on his head and mock him? What would he do in the future? If he didn't teach it a lesson, it wouldn't know why the flowers were so red. Hee hee, where did this stupid dog come from? F***ck off. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. The groundhog didn't back down in the slightest. The middle-aged man didn't say anything. Instead, he looked on with an intrigued expression. Dabai, woof! The groundhog, ah! Both of them roared as they pounced toward one another. Thump, 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 bang, 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 clatter, 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 puff, 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 after an earth-shattering battle. Dabai lay on the ground with a bruised and swollen face. On its body was a ferocious groundhog. Why? Didn't you say you were invincible in the entire school? Why was I beaten into the ground by a groundhog in my first battle? Dabai finally broke down and bawled with tears streaming down his face. The groundhog faltered upon seeing this. Why was she crying when they were going to fight? As a native of the sinister spirit beast cesspool, he couldn't accept someone crying after losing a battle. How disgusting! The groundhog walked away with a disdainful expression. Who are you calling disgusting? Woof! Dabai stopped crying and glared angrily. Heh, I'm talking about a dog that cries after losing a fight. How disgusting! The groundhog didn't even try to disguise its disdain. Dabai was enraged, and he pounced toward the groundhog again. I'm going to kill you! Woof! Rumble! His domain erupted. Silver wind blades enveloped the entire void. The groundhog chuckled fearlessly, and another intense battle ensued. Thump, thump, thump! Pa pa pa! Da da da! Poo piu piu! After the fierce battle, Dabai was once again foaming at the mouth and lying on the ground. Hee hee, do you concede? The groundhog stood on Dabai's back and looked down at him from above. Dabai was so angry that his whole body trembled. I don't accept this, woof. What followed was another series of bouncing. Pa pa pa! Da da da! Poo piu piu in the small attic. Unlin had just experienced an extremely perilous battle, and he was finally able to relax. As such, he naturally had to take a good rest and enjoy the rest of his life. He poured a cup of tea for himself. This was a spirit tea from the sinister spirit beast cesspool, and it was known as the White Fox Immortal Tea. It was extremely fragrant and was completely different from the violent atmosphere of that rundown place. Tina sat on the table with her legs crossed, and she carefully held the teacup in her little hands before sipping from it. Delicious! Her eyes narrowed with bliss as she praised from the bottom of her heart. A faint smile appeared on Enlin's face as he also sipped from his cup. Giant Enlin, do you think it's a good idea for Dabai to bully other people's beast pets like this? Tina asked in a quiet voice. He won't. Enlin shook his head with a confident expression. Dabai knows what he's doing. He'll only scare those little animals at most, but he won't do anything serious. His voice had only just fallen. Bang! The sound of the doorbell rang out. Dabai appeared at the door. You're back already? Tina was surprised. Enlin was also quite surprised, and a smile appeared on his face. It's probably because he's too lonely and couldn't find a worthy opponent, so he decided to come back. Dabai then appeared before them. His face was swollen, and his entire body was covered in bruises. One of his teeth was broken, and there were still traces of tears on his face. Wah! Big brother and... Dabai pounced toward Enlin and sobbed. I'm never going out again. I'm so useless. I can't beat anyone. The outside world is so scary. Woof. Enlin. Chapter 871. Enlin was dumbstruck upon seeing Dabai's pitiful state. Holy F***ck. Dabai, how did you end up like this? Who did this? A groundhog. Woof. Dabai felt like he had been completely humiliated today, and he spoke with a humiliated expression. Enlin. He felt like he already knew why Dabai had lost. A golden groundhog that's about half the height of a grown man? Enlin asked. Dabai's expression shifted. That's right. Big brother, and how did you know? Woof. Enlin's lips twitched as he heaved a forlorn sigh. That groundhog is a soul beast at the soul formation pinnacle stage from the sinister spirit beast cesspool. It would be a miracle if you could defeat it. Debai's mouth gaped open in shock. That groundhog isn't a beast pet of the Alliance of Cultivation. You have to broaden your horizons, but don't go overboard. Go on, Debai, and continue your journey of conquest. Enlin tossed a regenerative spirit pill to Debai as he continued to offer words of encouragement. Debai's body shuddered, and he hugged Enlin tightly as he shook his head vigorously. No, big brotherin, I feel like I'll be fine as long as I stay by your side. A harmonious society is the most important thing. Woof. Debai was as scared as a dog at this moment. He really was scared. He had only just stepped out of the house, and he was already beaten to a pulp by a groundhog. Who knew what would happen if he continued to wander around? Enlin had no choice but to let Debai do as he pleased. However, not long after that, a knock sounded on the door. He walked over to open the door, only to discover that Dongfang Zhuangshi had come to visit with the peerless saber demon and gluttony. Debai's legs gave out from under him again upon seeing this visitor. He almost thought that this was a pervert who had come to beat him up again. He was then greeted by the sight of Enlin making his way over to the middle-aged man. The conversation was very pleasant. After learning the truth, the groundhog came over to apologize to Debai, and this made Debai feel extremely flattered. So you guys know each other? You should have said so earlier. Woof. Debai came back to its senses and spoke with a wronged expression. It felt like it had been beaten up for nothing. No discord, no concord. A smile appeared on the groundhog's face. My Dao title is the Peerless Saber Demon, so let's call each other brothers from now on. You can call me Big Brother Saber, and I'll call you Little Brother Bai, how about that? Debai shuddered. He was the one who wanted to be the big brother first. Enlin and Dongfang Zhuangshi chatted as they sipped tea. As the conversation went on, the middle-aged man finally talked about something important. Now that I've returned to this world, I've abandoned my identity as the demonic blood Kirin and am going to live on as a human as Dongfang Zhuangshi. Now, the plan to reconstruct my body is about to begin, the middle-aged man announced. Oh? Is there anything I can help you with? Enlin was feeling a little guilty about the Kirin blood jade incident. After all, the Kirin blood jade was the most perfect body for the middle-aged man. However, it had been swallowed by Enlin, which resulted in the middle-aged man clinging to Enlin all the time. He felt really terrible. Alright, Enlin had to admit that this wasn't an issue of guilt. He just didn't want a weird middle-aged man clinging to him all the time. He and Su Xiaolan had risked their lives to save Dongfang Zhuangshi from that accursed place, so they had repaid the favor. They had helped the middle-aged man break out of prison right under Pangu's nose. Wait, a thought suddenly occurred to Enlin, and his eyes widened as he drew a sharp intake of breath. He had saved the criminal that Pangu was going to punish. Didn't that mean that he and Pangu were enemies now? A chill ran down his spine at the thought of this. Mr. Enlin, what's wrong? Dongfang Zhuangshi noticed that Enlin's expression was a little off. No, it's nothing. Enlin forced a smile onto his face, but he felt a chill run down his spine. He felt like he was about to die. Go on. Enlin smiled. Dongfang Zhuangshi nodded. A body that's too weak can't bear my powerful and perfect consciousness, so I have to forge a perfect mythological beast body myself. Enlin's lips twitched upon hearing this. Could they not be so exaggerated? Dongfang Zhuangshi continued. First of all, in order to ensure the divinity and spirituality of this body, I need to obtain the heart of the divine god and the divine god's elixir. Gasped. Enlin drew a sharp intake of breath. What is it? Dongfang Zhuangshi was confused. Nothing, go on. Enlin paused for a moment before taking another sip of tea to calm himself down. The heart of the divine god was an inherited divine rank consciousness body, while the divine god's elixir was an inherited divine rank energy body. He recalled that when he progressed to the soul formation stage, one of the mission requirements was to absorb the heart of the Divine God and the Divine God's elixir. Dongfang Zhuangshi continued, the second requirement is also more difficult. I need to consume a divine paragon fruit and use the divine fruit to forge a mythological beast body. PFFF. Anlin spat out a mouthful of tea. The middle-aged man was dumbstruck. What are you doing? Why are you so flustered? Anlin's lips twitched. Uncle, are you sure this is the material to forge a mythological beast body? Of course. Why would I lie to you? Dongfang Zhuangshi was a little angry. Why would I need the exact same material to progress to the soul formation stage as you do? Anlin couldn't help but ask. Dongfang Zhuangshi, you shouldn't need that material to progress to the soul formation stage. Dongfang Zhuangshi spoke with a serious expression. But I really did. I have no reason to lie to you, Anlin replied with a serious expression. I can testify to that, woof. Dabai raised his paw. Dongfang Zhuangshi fell silent. Was there something wrong? Why did he feel like his grand plan to forge a mythological beast body had suddenly become so lame? That's not it. I need a few more pieces of mythological beast bones. Dongfang Zhuangshi seemed to have found something that could save him some face, and he spoke with an excited expression. Let me tell you, the divine paragon fruit can forge a body, but the bones of mythological beasts are the most difficult to obtain. In this current world, the bones of mythological beasts that have not been processed are far too rare. You need to be extremely lucky to find them. Boom! Dongfang Zhuangshi didn't even get a chance to finish his sentence before a series of white bones appeared before him, all of which exuded extremely terrifying energy fluctuations. These are the mythological beast bones you want. If they're not enough, I have more in my storage ring, Anlin said with a lavish expression. Dongfang Zhuangshi. This was a little too much, and he needed some time to recover. Thank you. Dongfang Zhuangshi stowed the mythological beast bones away without any hesitation. I feel like the aura of these bones is a little familiar, he said. Do you know about the bones of the mutant blood phoenix? Anlin asked. Dongfang Zhuangshi faltered slightly upon hearing this before a complex expression appeared on his face. Fate sure is mysterious. He didn't continue on this topic. Instead, he began a discussion about the heart of the Divine God and the Divine God's elixir. I might have to search for the tombs of mighty figures all over the world. Only those tombs can give birth to the heart of the Divine God and the Divine God's elixir. I've calculated the energy within my body, and if I leave your side and don't fight, I can last about a year. If a battle erupts, then it's hard to say. An intense battle could exhaust all of the energy within my body. Anlin nodded. You don't have anything like a portable power source? Huh. Dongfang Zhuangshi faltered upon hearing this. Oh, it's like a backup energy ball. The kind that you can use to replenish energy when you run out, Anlin explained. Dongfang Zhuangshi shook his head. I can't. I can only obtain energy by getting close to you. You're like the sun, and I'm like a blade of grass. If I don't see you for too long, then I'll die. Xiao Hong suddenly chimed in her sweet voice. That's the most touching confession I've ever heard. Anlin, Dongfang Zhuangshi, can't you just photosynthesize? Why do you have to butt in? Anlin was enraged. I think Xiao Hong has a point. Dabai raised a paw in agreement. Slap. Dabai was slapped to the ground by Anlin. That's fine, you can come back whenever you want to replenish your energy. I'm usually at the university. Anlin massaged his brows. Dongfang Zhuangshi nodded with a smile. One last thing. I need to find a place to settle the vast land of blood. This floating continent also needs to absorb the power of stars to maintain its operation. I've already received permission from the Celestial Dharch to settle near Xiuxian United University. Do you have any recommendations? Anlin pondered for a moment before his eyes abruptly lit up. Chapter 872. over 1,000 kilometers to the west of Xiaoxian United University. Enlin arrived atop a cloud atop his dog with a smile on his face. This is the place. Dongfang Zhuangshi stepped through the air and looked around at the floating white clouds. There was nothing special about this place, so he asked with a curious expression, "Why did you choose this place? Didn't you say that your vast land of blood needs to absorb the power of stars? This is the place where the power of stars is the most abundant when Xiaolan and I stroll through the clouds at night," Enlin replied with a smile. Dongfang Zhuangshi was caught off guard and forced another mouthful of dog food into his mouth. A crimson bead suddenly appeared in his mouth, and he spat it into the air. The bead flew toward the white clouds, and the space around it began to twist and warp. Countless materials shot forth in a spiral pattern, which was none other than the land and buildings of the vast land of blood. Soon, a crimson continent appeared before everyone's eyes. The bead flew toward the massive mushroom house at the center of the continent, from which a boundless red light emanated. "By the way, Uncle Dongfang, why did you build so many mushroom houses up there? Who are they for?" Enlin asked with a perplexed expression. He had thought that this was some kind of set of ruins with all types of living beings on it, but that was not the case. These were all empty houses with strange appearances. "Well," Dongfang Zhuangshi looked at Enlin, as if he was hesitating about something. Enlin spoke with a serious expression, "Uncle Dongfang, don't hide those things from me." Perhaps it was because he had been influenced by Enlin's appearance, or perhaps it was because of the Kirin blood jade's concealment effect, but Dongfang Zhuangshi finally heaved a faint sigh before extending a hand toward the continent. "So be it, I'll show you what this continent really looks like." Dongfang Zhuangshi's hand began to flip over, and at the same time, the vast land of blood also began to flip over. In the end, the houses were facing the ground, and the rock formation at the bottom was facing the sky. Enlin blinked with confusion. "What? Why is the vast land of blood standing upside down? Is this what the continent really looks like? The vast land of blood is standing upside down?" He felt like he had been played. "Dongfang Zhuangshi, don't say anything, come with me." The uncle gently landed on the edge of the boundless rock formation and arrived at a certain place. Enlin rode by and followed behind the uncle. When they landed on the rock stratum, they discovered that there seemed to be a faintly discernible door of distorted light in front of them. "Your cultivation bases will be restricted in there. Remember, don't use any power, or it'll affect the stability of the interior," Dongfang Zhuangshi cautioned in a solemn voice. Enlin and Dabai nodded at the same time, their hearts filled with excitement. Exploring and uncovering certain secrets would always bring about a certain kind of pleasure. Dongfang Zhuangshi walked into the faint gate of light and disappeared. Enlin and Dabai followed closely behind him. After a series of visual changes, they appeared in a very strange yet familiar place. "This is..." Enlin stood rooted to the spot, unable to conceal the shock on his face. Bright and enchanting sunlight shone down upon the earth, and a clear moat flowed past before them. There were willows by the river, creating a picturesque scenery, and several beautiful birds perched on the branches. There was a city wall that wasn't very large behind the moat, and there was also a city gate. There were soldiers stationed at the gate, and there were pedestrians and carriages below. However, the river was completely still, the wind was completely still, the willows and birds were completely still, the pedestrians and carriages were completely still, everything was completely still. This was the reason why Enlin was astonished. This was like a world that had been frozen in time. As you can see, this is a world where time has been frozen. Dongfang Zhuangshi spoke in a low voice. His expression couldn't be seen, and only his slightly bleak figure could be seen. "Come with me." Dongfang Zhuangshi led the way. This was the first time Enlin had seen something like this, and he couldn't help but look around with great interest. There were words on the city gate, which read Ling Gu City. They walked through the city gate to discover that the buildings within were identical to the ones in the vast land of blood. There were mushroom-shaped buildings with all types of beautiful colors and shape. Many of the buildings had intricate plaques hanging from the top of the mushroom buildings, and some people were waving their hands as if they were yelling. As expected, this place is a reflection of the vast land of blood. However, one side is a beautiful scene, while the other is a scene of destruction, Lin murmured to himself. Dabai wagged his snowy white tail from side to side, and his eyes widened with curiosity as he looked around. It saw a lone rock on the ground and casually kicked it, but it missed. It staggered and almost flipped over. Lin caught sight of a fallen leaf flying through the air beside a tree, and he reached out to grab it, only to have his hand pass through the leaf, upon which his eyes widened again. This is clearly real, why can't I touch it? Yes, everything here was extremely real, but he couldn't touch this kind of reality. Dongfang Zhuangshi replied, "This is a world without time, so it's naturally different from ours." Lin tried to use the vital energy of heaven and earth here, only to find that he couldn't even use vital energy. It was a very peculiar feeling, as if he had arrived in a world that didn't belong to him at all. He could only act as a bystander. All the flowers, birds, insects, fish, all of them were paintings in front of him. A painting that wouldn't fade, one that could be admired forever. Dongfang Zhuangshi continued to lead the way, and Lin was very curious where the middle-aged man was taking them. After walking for a while, the middle-aged man stopped in front of a mushroom house. This was a rather short mushroom house with the words, "Miracle Hand Shop," hanging from the plaque. Lin blinked. Was he going to find a doctor? The middle-aged man walked up the wooden steps and entered the house before stopping in front of a woman. A look of reminiscence appeared on his face for the first time as he stared at the woman before him with a dazed expression. Lin turned to look at the woman. She appeared to be a doctor in a cream-colored dress, and she was applying for medicine with her nimble hands. She had bright eyes and white teeth, and there was a faint smile on her face. The sunlight outside shone upon her face, making her smile appear even more radiant and enchanting. It had to be said that this was a very beautiful woman, and Lin was looking at this woman with a hint of appreciation in his eyes. He then thought back to the woman that Dongfang Zhuangshi had mentioned. She seemed to have died from a sudden calamity, right? Could it be this woman in front of him? That was certainly a possibility. Especially after seeing the other side of the vast land of blood, this thought became even stronger. All of a sudden, his sea of vital energy rippled violently. To put it more accurately, it wasn't his sea of vital energy. Instead, it was Kiran who was in his sea of vital energy. He clasped a hand over his chest, and tears began to flow from his eyes. Lin. Chapter 873. Lin was completely dumbstruck. Wasn't this the woman that Dongfang Zhuangshi loved? Why was Kiran crying? Kiran was still crying, and for some reason, a sense of sorrow welled up in Lin's heart. What was going on? Lin's heart jolted with shock. Boom! At this moment, a massive wave of information surged into his mind. His vision darkened, and he felt as if the world around him were spinning as a sense of dizziness struck him on the brink of unconsciousness. A piercing light then swept toward him. He opened his eyes with great difficulty to discover that he was high up in the sky. There was a clear blue sky, as well as a boundless sea of crimson flames. Boom! A crimson phoenix spread its wings and blotted out the entire sky as boundless divine might exuded from its body. Lin was feeling a little suffocated just from its aura alone. This was a true Tao integration stage mythological beast. Lin also sprang into action. Or rather, he was forced into action. The Kiran's claws were imbued with the power of the destruction divine Tao, and they tore through the boundless sea of crimson flames before clashing with the crimson flaming phoenix. Rumble! This was an earth-shattering battle. Just the flames alone had incinerated an area with a radius of over 500 kilometers. Lin was a little dumbstruck. He felt like he had become a Kirin. That's right, he was the demonic blood Kirin. The most terrifying thing was that he could sense everything, but he couldn't control his own actions. And Lin was astonished. He didn't know what was going on. However, this super-realistic experience still made his heart surge with excitement. He could cosplay as a Tao integration stage super mighty figure. How does that feel? And then his hand was severed, his head was burned, and his heart was punctured. Ah! All types of extremely terrifying pain almost tore his body apart, and he howled in agony. This was a hellish experience. Awesome my A**s. Help! What the hell is going on? And Lin roared in his heart, but it was to no avail. This super-realistic experience was not affected by his consciousness. He was forced into battle with the Crimson Phoenix. He was very familiar with the power unleashed by the Blood Phoenix. It was the mutant Blood Phoenix that he had encountered in the sinister spirit beast cesspool mystic realm. Amidst the constant pain of battle, the only thing that could be comforted was that this character could accumulate battle experience and comprehend the power of the Tao realm. Both the demonic Blood Kirin and the mutant Blood Phoenix had extremely powerful Tao realm domains. The clash between the two of them gave Lin a profound sense of enlightenment. In particular, he had inherited the power of the mutant Blood Phoenix, and Kirin had the Kirin Blood Jade. Their battle was like a master teaching him how to use his power in the end, and Lin, who was the demonic Blood Kirin, tore open the Blood Phoenix's body. The demonic Blood Kirin was also riddled with wounds from the attacks of the Blood Phoenix. The extremely high temperatures had almost incinerated its entire body, and it had sustained extremely severe injuries. Whoa! Demonic Blood Kirin, I'm not done with you, just you wait. The Blood Phoenix let loose an almighty roar, and its body fused back together before it turned around and fled. Hee, Fire Boss, you don't want the divine time bead anymore? The Kirin held the dreamy, glassy bead in his hand as he chased after the Blood Phoenix with a cold smile on his face. The Blood Phoenix ignored him and fled with all its might. It was about to lose its life, so it had no time to think about treasures. The demonic Blood Kirin chased after the Blood Phoenix for several thousand more kilometers before it finally ran out of energy. Its extremely powerful aura had become extremely feeble, and its life force was like a candle flickering in the wind, as if it could die at any moment. I've gone too far, the demonic Blood Kirin murmured to itself. I almost lost my life in order to fight for the divine time bead. Thankfully, the outcome was a good one. The spatial magic tool had exploded, and all of the pills inside were gone, so it had to find a place to recover from its injuries. It continued to fly, but its speed became slower and slower. No. The life force of this body was fading away faster than it could recover. If things continued like this, it was going to die. The demonic Blood Kirin's heart jolted with shock, and it began to frantically search for a place with abundant spiritual energy. It needed to replenish itself. It needed a large amount of extremely powerful life force medicine to recover from its injuries. Its energy was becoming weaker and weaker, and blood continued to flow from its body as its breathing became more and more feeble. In order to maintain its life force, the demonic Blood Kirin shrunk its body to the size of a little puppy. Then, it used its unique instinct as a mythological beast to discover a spirit field somewhere outside the city. There was a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. It was as if a man who was about to die of thirst in the desert had encountered an oasis. The demonic Blood Kirin was about to go crazy, and it used its last sliver of energy to destroy the restriction around the spirit field before devouring the spirit medicine growing on it in a frenzy. This spirit fruit is so delicious, so fragrant, so sweet. It can also replenish one's blood energy. This ginseng is also an extremely nutritious item. It's a little disgusting, but it's better to eat it in order to survive. This spirit medicine is also quite good. It's imbued with extremely powerful life force. I'll eat it all. The Kirin seemed to have grasped onto its last hope, and it ate everything in its path like a wild boar digging up cabbages. At the same time, due to its severe injuries, its life force was still fading away, and extreme exhaustion was sweeping over it. And Lin could feel the despair of slowly dying from being unable to make ends meet. Why is it still not enough to replenish its energy like this? Finally, the Kirin arrived at the very center of the spirit field. There lay a translucent fruit that was glowing with a red light. Gulp. Immortal fruit? It took a deep breath before using its last sliver of energy to charge toward the center of the spirit field. It would be able to survive as long as it ate the immortal fruit. Boom. The Kirin's head crashed into an invisible restriction. No, the Qilin stretched out its claws and wailed in despair at the immortal fruit that it could only see but not touch. It was unable to break through this restriction with its own power. It was done for. Right at this moment, a light, fragrant breeze blew past. A yellow figure appeared before the Kirin. And Lin raised his head and was greeted by the sight of a woman with exquisite features. Her jet-black hair was tied into a ponytail, revealing her fair neck as she looked down at him. In the midst of his despair, a person suddenly appeared before him. His survival instinct made him so excited that he almost cried. The sunlight shone down on the woman's body, and she was as beautiful as an angel of salvation. "I beg you, save me. Give me that fruit." And Lin extended its claws and slapped the woman's white embroidered shoes as it begged. Then, in Lin's field of vision, a slap occupied his entire field of vision. Slap. A crisp sound erupted, accompanied by a scorching pain. "Save my A**s. Die." The woman's clear voice sounded. And Lin was struck by another wave of dizziness. In his daze, he seemed to be able to see the woman's body trembling with rage, on the brink of death. Another slap, and he finally fainted. End of story. Chapter 874. And Lin felt like he was going to die. In that instant, he thought back to his days of running under the setting sun. He had no regrets in his cultivation life. Amid a murky haze, a faint medicinal aroma wafted toward him. He opened his eyes with great difficulty to find that he was lying on a bed with a fire burning beside him. I'm not dead. He was just about to get up when a searing pain shot through his body. And Lin let loose a pained cry as he cursed in his heart. "Stupid C*** and T Kirin, don't you know you're injured? Why are you moving?" His actions were dictated, but his pain was shared. What a horrible experience! "You're awake?" At this moment, a pleasant voice sounded. A woman in a yellow dress made her way into the room and cocked her head to the side as she appraised Lin with a curious expression. "You're a Kirin?" The demonic blood Kirin was quite small, even smaller than a human. However, he raised his head with a proud expression. "That's right, I am the legendary Kirin. Woman, you saved my life, didn't you? In that case, I won't hold it against you for slapping me." Hee. The woman chuckled coldly as she made her way toward the Kirin and raised a hand. Slap. A clean, crisp, and resounding slap landed once more. The Kirin's face instantly burned with a scorching sensation, and the terrifying force of the slap even reached his chest. The Kirin's eyes widened. "I'll give you one more chance to organize your words." The woman smiled. "Woman, you're playing with fire." The Kirin was a high and mighty mythological beast that could kill millions upon enraged. When had anyone ever dared to humiliate him like this? Another crisp slap to the face, and the air even let out a sonic boom. Slap. The Kirin was feeling extremely dizzy. Not only was his face in pain, but his entire body was also in excruciating pain. "And Lin." The Kirin. You have one last chance." The woman smiled warmly as she raised a slender hand high into the air. "I'm sorry. I was wrong." The Kirin lowered his head. "And Lin. How humiliating." The woman's expression softened a little and she said, "This isn't something that can be resolved with just an apology. Do you know how many precious herbs you've destroyed in my spiritual field?" The Chelan shook his head honestly. I don't know. You've eaten a total of 31 of my medicinal herbs. You'll have to compensate me for that, the woman said. Chelan's expression changed. I ate the medicinal herbs with my own ability. What right do you have to make me pay for it? Pa! The fiery slap arrived as expected. Chelan. Unlin, are you being reasonable? The Chelan's eyes widened. Slap. Another fierce slap to the face. You are the one who is unreasonable. I'll straighten out your twisted morality. The woman snorted coldly. Unlin was in despair. One was crazily attracting hatred, while the other was addicted to slapping faces. Have you ever considered how I, who was silently enduring the slaps, felt? The woman glared at the Chelan and said coldly, Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you're a Chelan. If it weren't for my kindness, I would have cut you up and sold you. Why would I waste my medicinal herbs to save you? By the way, in order to save your life, I also used 2 7th-grade immortal fruits and 18 spirit herbs. That has to be returned as well. The woman was still talking, but the Chelan didn't dare to say anything else in fear of being slapped again. The following days were a little more mundane. In order to recover, the Chelan endured the humiliation and drank the medicine brewed by the woman while sucking up to her with a cheeky smile. He was clearly very ferocious, but he relied on acting cute to survive. The woman was a soul creation stage pill refinement master and a soul formation stage cultivator, so her medical skills were naturally not all that bad. She quickly helped the Chelan survive. Time passed by one day at a time. In the following days, you'll only have to drink 1 bowl of the medicinal herbs I concocted a day. Woman, you're underestimating my abilities. I don't need to take any more medicine. Slap. The slap sounded for the 10,086th time. Be obedient. The woman's eyes narrowed into a gentle smile. The Chelan obediently opened his mouth. Unlin really couldn't understand why such a gentle big sister would be so fond of slapping people in the face. After that, the Chelan recovered a lot more quickly. It also finally began its life of taking care of the spirit farm to repay its debt. Since he had made a promise, he had to fulfill it. The slapping education on the sickbed had taught it many things. The Kirin was working very hard in this paradise, weeding weeds, unblocking vital energy, carving out spirit-gathering spell formations, and even using its own Kirin blood as fertilizer for the spirit plants. Unlin's eyes were blinded by the Kirin's work. The woman had a medical center in Lingu City, so she worked during the day and came back at night to brew medicine for the Chelan. The days were very mundane, and the Chelan's injuries also quickly recovered. One night, during mealtime, where's my medicine? The Chelan scratched its head with a perplexed expression. The woman smiled at the Chelan. Congratulations, as a doctor, I announce that you've recovered. You don't need to take medicine anymore. The Chelan faltered slightly upon hearing this before also smiling. I finally don't need to take medicine anymore? The spirit farm was extremely productive this time, and you've done a very good job taking care of it. Our debts have also been paid, and you're free now. You can leave. The woman continued with a smile. Oh, that's great. The Chelan smiled as well. It had finally come to an end. However, it felt like its heart was completely empty. By the way, you're quite powerful and talented, so why are you willing to live in a small city like this? You should go and see a bigger world. The Chelan couldn't help but ask. The woman shook her head with a smile. I feel like I'm quite happy living here. I'm free, and I'm far away from battle and conflict. I like this kind of life. The Chelan faltered slightly and didn't know what to say. It looked at the woman under the candlelight. She was so gentle and beautiful, and she was so beautiful and refined. She was like a kind and benevolent big sister who had seen through the world of mortals. However, it knew that this woman's slap was very painful. The Chelan was actually still confused about something, and it mustered up its courage. When you slapped me, Weren't you afraid that a perfect and powerful mythological beast like me would kill you because of my bad temper? Pah! Another resounding slap landed on his face. The Chelan's face was burning with embarrassment. The woman chuckled coldly. How dare you? I'm sorry. The Chelan lowered its head. Unlin, by the way, when you're outside, don't bully people just because you're a mythological beast. You have to be a reasonable person, understand? The woman cautioned. The Chelan nodded instinctively. All right, I'll be sure to be reasonable. If other beasts were to see the ferocious demonic blood Chelan behaving like this, they would definitely be dumbfounded. They chatted about many things that night. The Chelan had never thought that a mythological beast like him would chat so much with a measly soul formation stage cultivator. He felt like there was a lot more he wanted to say, and there was no end to their conversation. The next day they still bade farewell. Woman, if anyone bullies you, send a voice transmission to me. The Chelan tossed a voice transmission talisman toward the woman. All right, don't fight anymore. You looked so pitiful back then, what if you accidentally died? The woman advised with a dainty smile. The Chelan nodded before rising into the air. He flew further and further away until he could no longer see the woman's figure, nor could he see what the spirit field looked like. She was finally leaving. There was too much of a disparity between their cultivation bases. Their farewell today could be the last time they saw each other. 10,000 years passed in the blink of an eye for mythological beasts, but for soul formation stage cultivators, it could be the difference between life and death. The Chelan heaved a faint sigh as he looked at the vast expanse of land in the distance. After flying for a while, he couldn't help but lay a hand on his cheek. Sigh, it's just that after this farewell, she won't be able to slap me anymore. I really miss her slaps. A dejected expression appeared on the Chelan's face as his heart throbbed with pain. Unlin. Uncle, did you expose some kind of weird fetish? She said that she wanted me to be a reasonable person, and I have done that. Next, I will be a person. The Chelan nodded, and with a shake of his body, he transformed into a rather handsome middle-aged uncle. Unlin was astonished. Uncle, are you sure you're not mistaken? That woman must have had too many interactions with other people and spilled the beans. But will I never get another chance? What if she's bullied? What if she's unhappy and wants to speak her mind, but can't find someone to talk to? Unlin's heart jolted upon hearing this. The Chelan was still murmuring to himself. All of a sudden, his eyes lit up, and he slashed his own arm with his finger. Splat! Blood sprayed forth. Gasp! That hurt. The pain was so real. A massive gash appeared on the middle-aged man's arm. Unlin. I'm injured. I'll go to the Miracle Hand Clinic to find her for treatment. I have to hurry or my wound will heal. The middle-aged man turned around and flew toward Lingu City without any hesitation. Unlin. Chapter 875. Unlin felt like his image as a middle-aged man was about to crumble. He had gone from the Kiran-proud heavens to this adorably stupid middle-aged man. It was one thing for him to be stupid, but don't drag him down with you. In order to increase the sense of immersion, what was the real pain of his arm being cut off? He wasn't a masochist. Oh right, the 10,000 slaps were the same. How immoral, Unlin would most likely never forget that slap for the rest of his life. Miracle Hand Clinic. This was the most renowned clinic in Lingu City. Not only was Dongfang Mingjie beautiful, her medical skills were also unparalleled in the entire city, so there was an endless stream of patients coming to her clinic for treatment. Thankfully, this city was quite small. Otherwise, she really wouldn't be able to handle all of the patients. As per usual, she had left a medicine by her side and was preparing to brew it after she got home. But very quickly she came back to her senses. That unreasonable fellow had already left. Dongfang Mingjie silently hid the medicine in a separate medicine cabinet. She couldn't quite describe what she was feeling right now. At this moment, a middle-aged man entered with a panicked expression as he clutched at his injured arm. "Doctor, save me! My arm is injured. Dongfang Mingjie immediately prepared emergency measures upon seeing this. She was just organizing her tools when her hands faltered. She raised her head to look at the man before her. He was quite handsome, but very unfamiliar. However, that wasn't the point. She wrinkled her intricate nose as she glanced at the middle-aged man again. The atmosphere suddenly fell silent. The man averted his gaze in a rare manner. "Doctor, what's wrong?" "Kiran?" Dongfang Mingjie suddenly asked. The man's eyes widened. "Huh? What did you say? You've never seen me before, have you?" "Hey, you're being reasonable." What a catchphrase. Dongfang Mingjie's eyes were as clear as autumn water, and a smile suddenly appeared on her face. The man stared blankly at her. Slap. A familiar and fiery slap landed again. The man shuddered. This was such a nostalgic feeling. Dongfang Mingjie placed her hands on her hips as she scolded in a crisp voice. "All right? You've only been gone for a short while, and you're already asking for a beating? You went to fight again, and you're trying to trick me? You have to be honest and trustworthy, okay? If I don't slap you a few times, you won't learn your lesson." The man was stunned. He covered his face and said in surprise, How did you find me?" "Hee, I saved you. How could I not know what your blood tastes like?" A smug look appeared on Dongfang Mingjie's face. "I smelled that familiar scent in your blood as soon as I got close to you, so even though you've changed your appearance and concealed your aura, I was still able to identify you." The man was shocked, and so was Lin. Identification through blood? This ability was really awesome. A self-propelled humanoid DNA test? Then, what about my hand? Having been recognized, the man stood awkwardly on the spot. "Sit down." Dongfang Mingjie glared at the man. "I'll bandage it for you." The man happily sat down and stretched out his arm. The woman's gentle and nimble hands touched his arm. The man looked at the woman's focused expression and felt as if he had returned to the time when they were in the small house in the spirit field. She was still so serious, so gentle, and her slap was still so moving. "By the way, who did you fight with this time?" Dongfang Mingjie asked with a frown. A phoenix," the man replied. "Phoenix? Is it beautiful?" "I'm not interested in it. Besides, it's a male." "Huh? What are you talking about?" "I'm asking you if a phoenix is beautiful. I've never seen a phoenix before, so I'm a little curious. Why are you answering that question?" Nothing." Dongfang Mingjie's eyes lit up as she looked at the man before her with a faint smile. "I've already recognized you, so why are you still maintaining your human form?" "Because I'm afraid that my original appearance will scare others, so I'll just do as the Romans do." The man was quite happy to have found a good excuse for himself. "I don't think you're scary. Also, your horns are very beautiful, and I quite like them. It would be a pity if they were to disappear just like that." "Beautiful? I can make them appear." The man was a little excited. He had just heard a very important phrase: she liked them. Thus, the strange middle-aged man with Kiran horns was born. Good times were always short-lived, and the middle-aged man's arm was soon bandaged. "All right, I've bandaged it up. You have to be more careful next time." Dongfang Mingjie stroked the red, glass-like Kiran horns on the man's head with a faint smile. The man nodded. He felt like there was no reason for him to stay here any longer. Then, "Goodbye." The man bade farewell. "Goodbye." Dongfang Mingjie smiled before continuing to treat other patients. The middle-aged man left. He laid a hand on the bandage on his arm with a content expression on his face. He still had a bunch of things to take care of in the sinister spirit beast cesspool, so he really was going to leave this time. Thus, the middle-aged man continued his life as a mythological beast. 1 month later, the middle-aged man missed her. He wanted to see her, but he couldn't find a good reason to do so. The middle-aged man pulled out the white bandage on his storage ring, and a thought suddenly occurred to him, and he slashed his calf with one hand, upon which blood gushed forth again. Lin. F*ck off. Thus, the two of them met again. The atmosphere was very harmonious, and they began to chat again. After his injuries were healed, the middle-aged man became even more powerful. After that, the middle-aged man began to mutilate himself again when he wanted to see Dongfang Mingjie. His injuries couldn't be the same, right? Otherwise, it would be too obvious. Thus, Unlin experienced the pain of having his arms and legs severed, his internal organs exploded, he was poisoned, his sea of vital energy was damaged, his meridians were damaged, and so on and so forth. If Unlin could control this body, he would definitely kill Dongfang Zhuangshi with his own two hands. Kiran, your injuries were really severe this time. Can't you pay more attention to your body? Dongfang Mingjie's brows furrowed. All right, I'll be more careful next time. The middle-aged man nodded. By the way, don't call me Kiran anymore. It's a little weird. Give me a human name. A human name? Dongfang Mingjie blinked in surprise. What type of name do you want? Anything, I'll just take your surname, the man replied. Take my surname. A blush appeared on Dongfang Mingjie's face, and her slender hand trembled slightly. Then, I'll call you Dongfang Zhuangshi. Dongfang Zhuangshi? The middle-aged man drew a sharp intake of breath. A sly smile appeared on Dongfang Mingjie's face as she explained, You're always having problems with your body, and you always come to me for treatment, so I'll give you a name that symbolizes good wishes. Think about it, Zhuangshi means that you're strong and sturdy, and it represents a type of vitality. It's imbued with the purest and truest emotions, and it's also compatible with the Tao of life. Furthermore, it's easy to understand and catchy. After the woman finished speaking, she didn't see any resistance from the middle-aged man. Instead, a joyful smile appeared on the man's face. So that's how it is. That's a really good name. I'll be called Dongfang Zhuangshi from now on. Dongfang Mingjie's lips gaped open, but she didn't know what to say. And Lin was astonished. So this was how he got his F***king name? At the end of the day, it was all because of his self-mutilation. This was probably what it meant to be, Kiran, Dongfang Mingjie said in a quiet voice. Please call me Zhuangshi, the middle-aged man replied with a solemn expression. Zhuangshi. Dongfang Mingjie paused for a moment before continuing. I've opened up a tea garden in the 100-flower field in the east, and I go there to sample tea whenever I have free time. If you're interested in tea, you can go there every month to have some tea. All of the tea is spirit tea, so it's not bad. Be more careful in the future, and don't get injured again. Dongfang Zhuangshi faltered slightly upon hearing this before a warm smile appeared on his face. All right, I'll be more careful in the future and try not to get injured again. Unlin was almost moved to the point of tears upon hearing this. My God! These two thin-skinned fellows with negative IQs had finally been enlightened. Chapter 876. This situation left the beast race powerhouses dumbfounded for a long time. All right, wait for me to come back to report the good news. After a while, it was still the same little pavilion. Do you want to go? The uncle asked. Another few loud slaps rang out on the spot. All right. The uncle's fighting spirit was ignited. Well, then don't go. There's nothing to see in the treasure light. The uncle comforted her gently. The immortal beast general was stunned. To expand our territory. The uncle was a little emotional. I'm not joking. The reason why I'm drinking so happily is because in the beginning, Dongfang Zhuangshi would still transform into a Kiran in the sinister spirit beast cesspool and a human in Lingu City. But now, no matter where he was, he liked to appear as a human. I like the wind and rain here. I like the tranquil and pleasant environment here. I like this feeling very much. Dongfang Mingjie smiled lightly. Of course I do. In the sinister spirit beast cesspool, he was the demonic blood Kiran who ruled over a territory and commanded all of the other beasts. She stopped for a long time, her eyes filled with anticipation. The middle-aged man said to Dongfang Mingjie with a solemn expression, "I'm going to participate in the Pill Tower's new Excellence Cup competition that's held once every 10 years. Do you still remember our previous agreement?" Dongfang Mingjie looked at the middle-aged man before pursing her lips into a smile. "Then I'll promise you one thing." It had been many years, and it seemed like there hadn't been any major breakthroughs. In fact, the gap between them was slowly closing. Lin, the middle-aged man, was satisfied, but Dongfang Mingjie was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. The woman, she was originally a pill master, so she still had an appreciative attitude towards someone being able to enter the legendary pill refining Holy Land, the Pill Pagoda. The uncle didn't like it. He drank a few mouthfuls of tea and didn't feel as good as before. One day, Dongfang Mingjie suddenly mentioned that there was going to be a myriad sunset treasure light festival in a certain city in 5 days. At that time, treasured lights of all different colors would appear in the sky, creating a spectacular spectacle to behold. Logically speaking, why do we need to attack the 7 cities of the western region? The uncle frowned. Don't worry. Other than age and opportunism, everything else depends on strength. Then goodbye. However, the way the uncle wooed the girl was really unsightly. Lin had already obtained an immeasurable amount of dark history regarding Dongfang Zhuangshi. It was exactly because of this that he didn't have any objections to Xiaolan's 100-year promise. The immortal beast general was stunned. What was there to reflect on? This was what they had always done. Speaking of which, wasn't attacking cities the most common thing for the beast race? What kind of reasoning was that? This was probably a fake Great Emperor Qilin, right? Whoosh! Outside the gazebo, the rain seemed to have grown heavier. Today, the city lord's son, Lu Wenguang, gave me flowers, the woman said with a smile. Entering the Pill Pagoda makes you very powerful? As long as I want to, I can also enter the Pill Tower, the uncle said seriously. For example, it was one thing to bring local specialties, but what the hell was with bringing the best snot delicacies of the beast cesspool? Most importantly, he's actually a core disciple of the Pill Tower. His alchemy skills are very impressive. A rare look of approval appeared on the woman's face. Uncle, actually, I don't like tea either. The uncle still made time to come to the tea garden every month to drink tea. One morning, Lin thought to himself, this uncle will probably become a spirit-gathering pinnacle stage pill refinement master in the future, right? How pitiful, the relationship between the two of them was a little strange. At the very least, they were good friends that transcended different races. That's not a good reason. You attacked someone else's territory just to expand your territory. This is the behavior of a barbaric bandit. You better reflect on yourself, the uncle said angrily. Dongfang Mingjie never mentioned that so-called young Master Lu again. Lin expressed that he understood this situation. It was very normal for cultivators to be in a relationship for hundreds of years. Their days passed by leisurely and carefree. I'll wait for you. Don't try to take advantage of me. After this incident, the relationship between the two of them returned to normal. The fragrance of the tea was also somewhat diluted by the rain. The uncle no longer harmed himself. Every month, he would go to the tea garden to drink tea with Dongfang Mingjie. In any case, the uncle's experiences were really hard to describe. In a small city on the southeastern border of the Kingdom of the 9 States, he was a gentle and polite uncle with a Qilin horn on his head. The misty rain shrouded her bright eyes in a layer of mist, like rippling autumn waters. The uncle also went to an elegant tea garden to drink tea. Dongfang Mingjie faltered momentarily before bursting into laughter again. The uncle chuckled. It's not that bad. The uncle faltered slightly upon hearing this, and his hand trembled slightly as a thought flashed through his mind. He dared to give her flowers? Kill him! Dongfang Mingjie raised her head and looked on as Dongfang Zhuangshi disappeared into the clouds. The courtyard was stained red, and it was still drizzling. A smile appeared on the woman's face. In reality, a carefree mythological beast like him didn't really know how to appreciate tea. Whether it tasted good or not depended entirely on his mood. The woman's eyes lit up, and she stared unblinkingly at the man before her. I don't really want to. There's no one to go with me, so I can't be bothered to move. The woman sighed lightly. Lin couldn't bear to watch this anymore. The uncle paid no heed to the dejected immortal beast. It was time for him to meet that woman again, so he had to make some preparations. She couldn't help but want to laugh when she thought of the mythological beast's fighting spirit competing with the younger generation. What if I can enter the pill pagoda? The uncle looked at the woman. He suddenly recalled that the woman wanted him to be a reasonable and cultured person, so he had to be graceful and not impulsive. Dongfang Mengjie was still wearing her cream-colored dress, and she was fiddling with the tea set with her nimble hands. The sound of tea falling onto the table was like the sound of jade and stone falling onto the table. The woman faltered upon hearing this. Don't joke around. Every time I see you here, you have a lot of fun drinking. Oh him. The woman rested her chin on her hand as a different light shone in her eyes. He's handsome and has very good aptitude. He's already at the soul formation stage. Emperor Kirin, we've already conquered the 7 cities of the Western Realm and slaughtered all of the beast tribe resistance. A return to void stage. Immortal beast general half knelt on the ground as he reported the situation. You? The woman couldn't help but burst into laughter. Don't even mention your pill refinement aptitude. It's impossible. Goodbye. Who is he? I don't know much about him. The middle-aged man smiled. He seemed to prefer being a human, a reasonable human. After all, there were mighty figures who would accompany each other for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. How could he become Tao partners after only 1 or 2 years? That was an irresponsible attitude toward one's relationship. Their relationship slowly flowed into each other's hearts. I heard that young Master Lu doesn't like to drink tea. Otherwise, I would be able to invite him to my tea garden. What a pity. Dongfang Mengjie snuck a glance at the man before her as she spoke. There was a hint of anticipation in her eyes, but also a hint of nervousness. Chapter 877. As a Tao integration stage mythological beast, Dongfang Zhuangshi had no problem disguising himself as a human under 30 years of age. No one would be able to detect his true identity and age. After silently practicing alchemy for so long, he finally had a chance to show off his skills. The uncle was still very excited. Most importantly, he had to fight for that bet. At the alchemy competition, the uncle's level was considered outstanding among the many alchemy geniuses. Out of over 10,000 people, he was ranked 26. He had been invited to become a disciple of the Pill Tower, and he had even obtained a talisman that could prove his identity. No one would have thought that the Qilin Great Emperor, whose name had shaken the entire continent, would quietly participate in a competition of this level. No one would have thought that he would smile like a 200-pound fatty just because he had obtained the status of a Pill Tower disciple. Haha, I am now a disciple of the Pill Tower. I can head to Lingu City now. Dongfang Zhuangshi's heart was racing as he gripped the yellow token in his hand. Lingu City. It was still raining. For a small city in the southeast of 9 regions, it was normal to rain in summer. Lingu City was very quiet, and only the sound of heavy rain could be heard. Dongfang Zhuangshi had yet to enter the city, and he was already panicking. His extremely powerful perception allowed him to discover that there was no longer any life in the city. No way, you must have left. You are not in this town. Dongfang Zhuangshi murmured in a low voice as his body trembled with fear. What came into view was a ruined city. The city walls were broken, and the city was in ruins. The ground was littered with corpses that were shrouded in a deathly aura. Some of them were humans, while others were pitch black and featureless. They were from the Black Hand race with 4 arms and 2 feet. The heavy rain washed away the blood, leaving only a faint smell of blood. He wandered aimlessly in the city and saw many familiar faces. They lay quietly on the ground, some with hideous expressions, some with despair and fear. Dongfang Zhuangshi didn't dare to use his divine sense, and he was like an idiot who was burying his head in the sand. The sky was dark and gloomy. The white silhouette was like a ghost moving slowly in the city. Unknowingly, he had stopped in his tracks. He knelt on the ground and slowly hugged that cold and hard body. The man hugged her very tightly, as if he was trying to stop something, trying to salvage something. "You said that you would wait for me. Why didn't you run away?" The man choked with sobs. No one answered him. The woman's eyes were tightly shut, and her vitality had long been severed. A ghastly bloody hole appeared on the cream-colored silk dress. She curled up her body. She seemed to be in pain and cold before she died. Pa, pa, pa. Resounding slaps sounded in the dense rain. "I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I didn't protect you well. Hit me. Quick, slap me." Dongfang Zhuangshi roared as he slapped his own face over and over again. Tears flowed down his twisted face as if he had gone mad. An item fell from the other hand of the woman with a crisp sound. Dongfang Zhuangshi detected a familiar energy fluctuation. He picked up the item with trembling hand. It was a pair of exquisite red jade pendants. It was obvious that they had been nurtured for some time. The energy on them was rich and pure. There were elegant words on the jade pendant. Half of it was Mengjie and the other half was Zhuangshi. Hee hee ha ha ha. I'm so stupid, so stupid. Why didn't I say so earlier? I really don't like drinking tea. It's bland and astringent. How could I like it? But I like you. I really like you. I like everything I drink when I'm with you. The man chuckled foolishly as his clear eyes gradually became murky and bloodthirsty. A violent aura erupted from his body, and it felt as if the entire sky were about to collapse. The Black Hand tribe, is it? Let's be honest. They killed the person I love, then I should annihilate their entire tribe. Boom! A red pillar of light soared into the sky, and heaven and earth began to tremor and crack. The dark clouds in the sky dissipated and were replaced by a boundless sea of blood. A red shooting star crashed into the Black Hand tribe continent in the southeastern region of the Kingdom of the Nine States. The demonic blood Kirin appeared, and an earth-shattering massacre ensued. Blood stained the entire continent, and the anguished wails of billions of Black Hand tribe beings erupted into the heavens. Countless living beings were sacrificed, and the heavens mourned as a rain of blood fell for over 100 days. Many Tao integration stage super mighty figures stared at the Black Hand tribe continent with dumbstruck expressions. There was only one thought in their minds, and that was that the demonic blood Kirin had gone insane. The demonic blood Kirin had indeed gone insane. Dongfang Mengjie was his medicine, and she had transformed him into a polite and reasonable human. But now, the medicine was gone, and he could only revert back to that bloodthirsty monster that regarded all living beings as ants. A large power on the Tai Chu continent with billions of living beings within its territory was sacrificed in an extremely brutal manner by the demonic blood Kirin. Even the Tao integration stage Black Hand Emperor was torn to shreds by the demonic blood Kirin. No one knew why. How did two forces that had nothing to do with each other become mortal enemies? Even though there were many suspicious points, this didn't stop this from becoming a super-sensational event that rocked the entire Tai Chu continent. Dongfang Zhuangshi's entire body was stained with blood, and he walked into the deathly silent city before half-kneeling before the woman. "Mengjie, I've avenged you." He pulled out a crimson bead, which was imbued with boundless life force energy. After that, he pulled out a dreamy, translucent bead. This was a divine tool, the bead of time. There was a river of light surging within it, as if there were countless possibilities within it. Using the entire Black Hand tribe as a blood sacrifice and using the divine tool, the bead of time, as the price, can you reverse time? Dongfang Zhuangshi murmured to himself as he crushed the divine tool. the bead of time, without any hesitation. Boom! The crimson bead flew toward the center of the city before glowing with a scintillating light. A paramount power enshrouded the entire small city. After sacrificing a divine tool, the power of time also erupted forth. Black and white light surged through the city as boundless power sucked in all living beings, and even the great Tao of heaven and earth resonated with it. On the ground below, raindrops began to converge before returning to the sky. The sky began to reverse, and Dongfang Zhuangshi saw many scenes in that instant. He saw the Black Hand tribe setting up the formation, the Black Hand tribe brutally slaughtering the soldiers and cultivators on the city wall, and the scenes of Dongfang Mingjie dying from exhaustion after being surrounded by the Black Hand tribe powerful beings in order to protect the residents of the city. Time continued to reverse. Dongfang Zhuangshi saw a small, peaceful city bathed in warm sunlight. He saw a woman in the miracle hand shop, who would occasionally nurture a jade pendant with her hands while looking up into the sky with anticipation in her eyes. The scenes finally froze on the woman with a warm smile on her face. She held a medicine in her hand, but she seemed to be thinking about something in her heart. The power of the divine tool, the bead of time, had been exhausted. Mengjie. Dongfang Zhuangshi extended a hand toward the woman's face, and his heart rate began to accelerate as his body trembled with excitement and anxiety. His hand passed through the woman's face, but he was unable to touch her. A bitter expression appeared on the man's face. Even though time has been reversed and all living beings in this world have also been reversed, is it still unable to merge with the original timeline? It's all right. I'll definitely find a way to save you from this world. Dongfang Zhuangshi stowed this city that had been frozen in time into the crimson bead. He rose into the air and flew back to the sinister spirit beast cesspool. Along the way, a huge pair of eyes suddenly appeared in the sky. Demonic blood Kirin, why did you slaughter all of the living beings on the Black Hand tribe continent? Each and every word was like the wrath of the heavenly Tao, making Dongfang Zhuangshi tremble with fear. They killed the person I love, so why can't I slaughter their entire tribe? Dongfang Zhuangshi stared directly into the eyes, and even though his entire body was trembling from head to toe, he remained resolute and unyielding. The conflict between our two tribes should not affect the entire tribe, so why are you so unreasonable? I'm an unreasonable beast to begin with. Your actions have severely impacted the balance of the continent, and you will be punished cruelly. The voice in the sky was extremely cold, but it was as if the heavens were pronouncing judgment. The dazzling power of the heavens made Dongfang Zhuangshi almost unable to do anything. Then let's fight. If I were scared of you, I wouldn't. Boom! A series of violent explosions rang out. The power was like a meteorite crashing into Dongfang Zhuangshi's body, instantly tearing it apart. Everything was plunged into darkness. Chapter 878. Anlin was a little perplexed, and he recalled the celestial Thearcha's words from time to time. The fact that cultivators didn't chase after stars only meant that they weren't outstanding enough. However, the light slowly reappeared. Wait! Anlin suddenly said. If he doesn't want to be born, then he has to intervene in that world, right? If he doesn't change the course of the world, then how is he going to prevent himself from being born? If he changes the course of the world, then even if he kills a sperm, karma will still appear. Anlin didn't feel any heartache when he saw Dongfang Mingjie again. Anlin nodded. Ever since Sword Immortal Ming Yuan broke through to the Return to Void stage, his understanding of this world had become even more profound, and he switched to a Tao spell theory class instead. They all wanted to see what this legendary figure of the university looked like. Anlin nodded with genuine gratitude. Thank you, Uncle Dongfang. The middle-aged man set up a spell formation around the vast land of blood and sucked on Anlin's breath before setting off on a journey to recover his body with the groundhog and gluttony. What is karma? To put it in simpler terms, karma is the connection between all things. I have karma with all of you. When I do something, it produces a certain result. This is the most basic form of karma. And that result will become the cause of a certain event, thereby leading to another result. Sigh. There's still a long way to go. In the past, I thought that Tao integration stage true gods were invincible beings. Hence, never underestimate the connection between yourself and the world. The world will change because of our lives, and this change is boundless and eternal. A huge tongue stuck out and swung towards his face. This was his life as a fourth-year cultivator. Mundane, carefree, and carefree. Hence, karma is boundless. Some people say that one can ascend and transcend after severing all karma with the world, but I don't think that's possible. It was like the president of a Fortune 500 company in the mortal world being a F***King university student. Who could compare to that? Thus, he got to know Dongfang Zhuangshi. Tina faltered slightly upon hearing this. This made him feel like death wasn't something to be afraid of. Lin nodded with an obedient expression. Was it possible to reverse time? After witnessing Dongfang Zhuangshi sacrifice his divine tool to reverse time, he wasn't going to say that it was impossible to reverse time in the entire world. This was especially true for the new batch of juniors. With respect and curiosity, they pretended to pass by the hallway of Year 4's Class 1 after class. There were only 100 steamers of buns for sale, but there were thousands of students who came to watch. This had broken his record of selling steamed buns, which also showed how terrifying his popularity was. Think about it. If a mighty being reaches a certain level and can reverse the flow of time in the entire world, turning time back to before he was born, then this world will no longer have him born. Wouldn't that be the same as erasing his karma from this world? Tina whispered. Speaking of which, even if that mighty being is so awesome, he still can't solve the hole in the sky. When Lin heard this, he felt that it made sense. Who would have thought that a Tao integration stage super mighty figure like Uncle Dongfang would be crushed by a single palm from that being? Tao is endless. Sword Immortal Ming Yuan was in high spirits as he explained the karma of cultivators. His return created a massive stir at Xiaoxian United University. Lin didn't find this strange. To Dongfang Zhuangshi, he could stare dumbly for several years without any problems, let alone a few days. Lin rubbed his head and crawled up from the ground. After a short while, they left the vast land of blood. Oh, right, Lin, if you dare to leak any information about me, don't blame me for being rude. Dongfang Zhuangshi suddenly spoke with a serious expression as he looked at Lin. According to Lin's explanation, it seemed like there really was no way to cleanse his karma with this world. Lin returned to the university and continued his ordinary cultivation life. Under the sunlight, the woman's gentle smile remained as warm as ever, as if time had not left any traces on her face. 2 days? Dabai secretly told Lin that ever since Lin had fallen unconscious, Dongfang Zhuangshi had been staring at the woman this entire time. Lin's attention was gradually drawn to this conversation. This was quite interesting. Within his sea of vital energy, Kiran also became extremely quiet, as if he had already let go of his worries, leaving behind only a hint of melancholy and melancholy. The next day, Dabai ignored steamed bun and reopened his shop. How long was I unconscious? Lin asked. Perhaps this was what it meant to never grow tired of each other. Because no matter what you do, karma will continue. You can wave your hand, and flowers may bloom in some corner of the world because of you. Even if you die, the world will still change in a certain sense because of your appearance. This change in karma will continue endlessly, from cause to effect, and from effect to cause, never to be severed. Giant Lin, I don't think there's anything wrong with Master Ming Yuan's statement that severing all karma and transcending is possible, Tina suddenly said. Why do you think that's not right? Lin was surprised. Dongfang Zhuangshi replied with a smile, not for long, only about 2 days. He had exposed the secret to Enlin in order to rid his body of the Kirin blood jade. Master Ming Yuan's lectures are so awesome. Tina sat on Enlin's shoulder with her hand supporting her cheeks as she looked up at the man on the stage with reverence in her eyes. Is this why you brought me here? Enlin asked. On the podium. Big brotherin, you're finally awake, woof. He opened his eyes and was greeted by the sight of a huge head and a pair of round eyes. There were simply too many legends about Enlin. In any case, everything returned to normal. Everything fell into darkness. Enlin faltered upon hearing this. He felt like many years had passed. Dongfang Zhuangshi stared at the beautiful woman before him with an infatuated expression. Just her identity as the sect leader of the 4-9 Immortal sect was enough to attract countless fans. It had to be said that her lectures were quite outstanding. Thus, the philosophical discussion between the two of them concluded. Enlin was surrounded like a giant panda, making him feel as if he were a mascot rather than a legendary figure in the school. Enlin felt as if his body had been torn apart, and the excruciating pain made his soul tremble. Dongfang Zhuangshi nodded. The Kirin blood jade is a manifestation of my past body and Tao realm. Tell it to let go of its obsession and everything related to it so that I can bear its burden. This is why I brought you here. He would remember this favor. He turned to look at the woman beside the medicine cabinet again. Slurp. However, after thinking about it, he felt like something wasn't quite right. Enlin looked out the window at his juniors who, coincidentally, happened to pass by, but they were all staring at him with scorching eyes. He didn't feel the slightest bit proud of himself. Instead, he sighed with emotion. Dabai was extremely excited. In this world, the karma that he had created was eternal, and the meaning of his life hadn't disappeared into the river of time. Chapter 879. One morning, after selling his stuffed buns, Enlin applied for leave and went to Do Shui Palace. He met Ishi again. Ishi had grown a little rounder after not seeing him for a while. Brother Ishi, I'll get straight to the point. How much is the cheapest divine pill? Enlin got straight to the point. Ishi's eyes widened as he drew a sharp intake of breath. Brother Enlin, you've already reached such a high level of mastery in pill consumption? You've already started eating divine pills. Enlin's expression darkened slightly. What the hell do you mean by eating pill? This is an independent cultivation realm that I've set for our pill consumption division. Perhaps after a period of development, we'll be able to form our own division, Ishi said excitedly. Enlin waved his hands with a headache. Let's get back to the topic at hand. I just want to ask about the price of divine pills. Time waited for no man. It was time for his plan to progress to the return to void stage. There was no hope for him to obtain cultivation methods for now, and divine tools were also hard to find. Thinking about it now, the only thing he could do now was to work on divine pills. Divine pills. It's actually very difficult to set a price for them because the ingredients are hard to find. However, divine pills require divine rank herbs and fruits as ingredients, so the price will definitely not be cheap. Ishi paused for a moment before continuing. The cheapest divine pills I've seen cost at least several tens of millions of spirit stones. Pill refinement masters won't accept this kind of business without at least 100 million spirit stones as a guarantee. Enlin grabbed onto Ishi's hand upon hearing this. Brother, do you trust me? Ishi nodded with a solemn expression. I trust you. Enlin was ecstatic. But I don't know how to refine divine pills, Ishi replied honestly. Enlin's chest constricted. You're the top pill refinement master of the Celestial Court's Do Shui Palace. Ishi rolled his eyes. So what if I'm the top pill refinement master? I'm just a measly supreme final stage pill refinement master. Enlin's lips twitched. A measly supreme final stage pill refinement master? If that group of people from the Pill Pagoda heard you say this, they would definitely explode and beat you up. Ishi shook his head. Divine pills are even more difficult to refine than breaking through to the Tao integration stage. In any case, I've never heard of any pill refinement masters below the Tao integration stage who can refine pills of this caliber. Not even Chang'e? And Lin asked. She choked upon hearing this. Apart from Chang'e, she's way too freakish. She's already at the half-step Tao bestowing realm in pill refinement, so she should be able to refine low-rank divine pills, right? And Lin's interest was aroused, and he said with a curious expression, "What realm is the Tao bestowal realm?" It's complicated to explain. To put it simply, after an alchemist's alchemy skills reach the pinnacle, he attempts to achieve a breakthrough. Thus, he imbues the alchemy pills with a higher level of comprehension. Bestowing the Dan to achieve the Tao, combined with the refinement of divine-level materials, the pill that is born can be called a divine pill. You can say that the same type of divine pill refined by different alchemists will result in different effects. This is because their Tao is different. Ishi's explanation made sense, and Enlin felt like his horizons had been greatly broadened. "So you're saying that I have to find Chang'e?" Enlin murmured. "My master is fine too." Ishi patted his round belly with a smug expression. "Oh wait, it should be his chest. It's not wrong to call it his belly." This was because the line between his chest and belly was no longer obvious in his eyes. "Your master? Your master is a very busy man. I don't think it's a good idea to trouble him." Enlin was a little hesitant. "It's all right as long as the money is in place. Prepare a few 100 million, and my master will definitely come." Ishi was still brimming with confidence. Enlin, that was the world of super tycoons, and poor people like Enlin could only stay away from them. He thought about it for a moment before deciding to go to Chang'e. After all, it was easier to talk to someone he knew. Thus, Enlin bade farewell to Ishi and traveled to the Moon Palace through the Celestial Court's teleportation spell formation. A dark night surrounded by stars. A streak of light flashed past, and Enlin arrived at a continent that was glowing with a faint silver moonlight. He couldn't help but take a deep breath as the faint fragrance of osmanthus wafted toward him. The fragrance of osmanthus flowed into his body, and it was as if a pair of gentle hands were caressing his meridians, making his entire body feel extremely comfortable. "What a nice place," Enlin couldn't help but praise. He arrived at the gate of the Moon Palace and stopped in front of the sign that stated that men and dogs were not allowed to enter. Enlin pulled out his voice transmission talisman with a hint of uneasiness. Not long after, a clear and cold voice with a hint of laziness was heard. "Hello, Enlin, Big Dumpling, what's up?" "Enlin. What does Big Dumpling mean? A new nickname?" I just woke up. It's sect leader." Enlin was a little apologetic. "I don't deserve to be called sect leader, you can just call me sect leader." Chang'e. Beep beep beep, the voice transmission talisman was cut off. Gasp. Only now did Enlin come to his senses and realize who he was talking to. This was the Moon Palace leader, the #1 pill refinement master of the Celestial Court, Chang'e. He was used to being cheeky to others, and now, he was flexing in front of Chang'e, and Lin cursed himself for being a pig. He couldn't even compare to Zhu Beiji. He braced himself and tried to contact Chang'e again. Thankfully, he wasn't blacklisted and the call connected. "What's up?" Chang'e asked in a cold voice. I'm outside the Moon Palace, and I need your help with something," Enlin replied with a sincere expression. "Is it urgent?" The woman's voice was as cold as the moon. It's not very urgent." Enlin hesitated momentarily before replying. "Why don't you jump out of the green duckweed when your heart is free?" A gentle voice sounded. Enlin was dumbfounded. "What?" "Sigh." The woman heaved a faint sigh. "Life is like a traveler on a long journey. There's no need to wait for the moon, why don't you hold the cup in your hand tightly?" Enlin opened his mouth, but his mind was completely blank. He suddenly recalled the horror of being dominated by Chang Yi's hipster mentality. F***ck. I don't understand a single word. And Lin's eyes turned red. He couldn't even understand a single word. How could he communicate normally? Support. He needed strong support. He immediately unleashed his water clone technique and ran off into the distance with another voice transmission talisman before calling Su Qianyun. In a situation like this, only Su Qianyun, who understood Chang Yi, could save him from this dire situation. Su Qianyun was still able to use her powerful language comprehension skills to chat with Chang Yi even when she was suffering from hipster mentality. This scene was deeply engraved in Enlin's mind. She was definitely someone he could rely on. Enlin was touched by his own resourcefulness. Fortunately, he had a backup version of the voice transmission talisman, and fortunately, he knew the water clone technique, as well as Su Qianyun. Otherwise, he really would be at his wits' end. The voice transmission talisman was quickly connected, and Enlin No. 2 relayed Chang Yi's words to Su Qianyun. Su Qianyun knew that this was an urgent matter, so she didn't ask any questions and began to explain. For example, the first sentence was, "Why the F***ck are you looking for me if you're not in a hurry?" Enlin broke out in a cold sweat. The second sentence was, "It's fine if you don't understand. Life is fleeting, and the things in front of you are the most important. There's no need to pursue illusory things. You should go back to your business." She was asking him to leave, and Lin hadn't recovered yet. Perhaps because he didn't reply for a long time, Chang Yi added another sentence. The general meaning was, "Why aren't you talking? If it's not urgent, I'm hanging up." After Su Qianyun finished translating, Enlin's voice transmission talisman had already been hung up. Beep 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 Enlin. Chapter 880. Enlin stared blankly at the voice transmission talisman in his hand. F***ck. She hung up again. No, Chang Yi was always acting like a hipster, and there was no way to communicate with her. Even with Su Qianyun's help, the lack of communication was still a source of irritation. Su Qianyun, do you have any solution for Chang Yi's hipster illness? Enlin No. 2 asked. A mellow voice sounded. Yes, big sister Chang Yi is most likely like this because she has something on her mind, or she has encountered an obstacle in her cultivation, or she is feeling down in her life and is feeling sensitive and melancholic. The solution to this problem is either to help her or to divert her attention. Enlin felt like it would be too difficult to help her solve her problem, but diverting her attention was a piece of cake. With his charisma and eloquence, how could he not be able to do this? All he had to do was amplify one of her emotions and overwhelm the other. He continued to use his aura to activate the voice transmission talisman. This time, he waited and waited, but the call didn't connect. Enlin, I've already drawn my saber, and you're not going to accept it? Enlin refused to give up and continued to try to contact Chang Yi's aura. Finally, after much effort, the voice transmission talisman was connected. Rua Fengshi? No. The woman yelled. Enlin's lips twitched, and he ignored Chang Yi's bullsh *t. Celestial Maiden Chang Yi, I brought you something very interesting from the sinister spirit beast cesspool. Sigh. The woman heaved a forlorn sigh. Enlin finally understood what she was trying to say. Was it still not working? Everyone said that curiosity was the strongest human desire, but why didn't it work when it came to Chang Yi? He gritted his teeth. I heard someone is calling you a stupid C***nt. The voice transmission talisman fell silent for a moment. Chang Yi who? Enlin took a deep breath. Stupid C***nt. Chang Yi Enlin. Gulp. Enlin couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. He had thrown caution to the wind. Since curiosity could not divert Chang Yi's attention, he would let anger do it. No matter how sad you are, when someone taunts you, you want to hit them instead of continuing to be sad. For example, if someone posted on their WeChat moments that they lost money in the stock market today, or that they broke up, you only needed to post a ha 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 comment. I guarantee that they will all walk out of that sorrowful state, and you will silently bear all the sins and evil. Although you will be reviled by others, you will still be doing something merciful. This is greatness. The hospital bed was white and soft, the air conditioning was cool, and the Wi-Fi was very smooth, so there was nothing to worry about. Sure enough, a peerlessly beautiful celestial maiden dressed in a moon-white silk dress appeared before him. Her jade-like face was covered in frost, and she raised her slender and fair hand. And Lin's pupils shrank. "Wait, Pa!" Boom. The earth tremored violently, and the power of the moon surged forth, bending all of the laurel trees in a radius of 5 kilometers. And Lin was slapped into the ground, and his body created a circular crater. "Are you itching for a beating? Can't we just talk nicely?" Chang-Yi's dress fluttered in the wind, and her voice was as cold as a bucket of cold water. And Lin's chest constricted as he cursed in his heart. "You were the one who didn't want to talk nicely first." He touched his flushed face. It was burning hot, and a familiar feeling arose in his heart. Dongfang Mengjie's slap also seemed to be this simple and violent, and Lin stood up with difficulty and immediately straightened his posture. "I'm sorry, Fairy Chang-Yi. Please forgive me for my earlier words. I'm here to ask for your help in refining a divine pill." Chang-Yi still wanted to get angry, but her expression finally shifted upon hearing about the divine pill. "You want me to refine a divine pill? What type of pill do you want to refine? Who is it for?" And Lin was extremely excited. He finally understood what Chang-Yi was saying. "It's for me, so I'm not picky. I'll take whatever divine pill is cheap and easy to refine." He knew that most divine pills were priceless just in terms of medicinal ingredient. The price fluctuated greatly, and one would even have to find the ingredients themselves. It could take decades or even centuries to complete the pill from commission to completion. And Lin didn't want to wait that long, so he wanted the simplest method. Chang-Yi's brows perked up with a speechless expression. "Young people these days eat divine pills so casually?" And Lin smiled. "That way, both of us won't have to worry. Everyone will be happy." Chang-Yi pondered for a moment before replying in a slow voice. "There are 3 types of divine pills. I've gathered quite a lot of materials, but there is only one that suits your requirement." "Alright, then I'll take it." And Lin snapped his fingers. "Let me finish first," Chang-Yi interrupted. "This divine pill is a little special." "How is it special?" And Lin was taken aback. Chang-Yi waved her white moon sleeve in the air, and a pill glowing with rainbow divine light appeared in the air. Anyone who saw it would have the urge to eat it. Immediately afterward, the divine light released by the pill condensed and formed a rainbow dress in the air. As it fluttered in the wind, it was dreamy and beautiful. "This," and Lin's mouth fell open as he stared blankly at the rainbow dress in the air. Chang-Yi said, "This pill is called the Rainbow Divine Tao Pill. It can enhance the user's 5 elements and yin and yang energy. However, after consuming the pill, the user will be enchanted by the rainbow dress for 10 years due to the effects of the pill." Enchanted by the rainbow dress? This is what you meant by meeting the requirements? And Lin's eyes widened in astonishment. A faint smile appeared on Chang-Yi's face. "The medicinal power is vast, but it won't explode. It's also extremely powerful and suits your divine body. Aside from a few special symptoms, it's actually already very compatible." And Lin clasped a hand over his chest and repressed the urge to throw up blood. "Your special symptoms are forcing me to wear female clothes. I'll have to wear female clothes for 10 years. And I'll have to wear female clothes in such a seductive manner. Do you think I'm shameless? Do you think I'm a pervert?" Chang-Yi pursed her lips. "You don't even dare to wear female clothes, and you say you love cultivating?" And Lin's lips twitched upon hearing this. All right. Chang-yi was finally satisfied at the sight of Enlin's conflicted and aggrieved expression. Actually, there's a way to resolve this. I'll concoct an additional immortal pill for you to absorb, but you'll have to pay an additional 1,000,000 spirit stones. No problem as long as you don't wear female clothes. Enlin heaved a sigh of relief. In any case, it was a good thing that his moral integrity was preserved. Then it's settled. Let's refine the Rainbow Divine Tao pill. Chang-yi nodded. All right, I've gathered most of the ingredients, but there are still some that I have to search for. The down payment will be 100,000,000 spirit stones. Enlin,